Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351. Dividing the Clouds and 8 Diagrams, Forging Spears Before Battle. Ling Yunpo couldn't remember how long it had been since he had fought such a frustrating battle. If Senior Sister wasn't here, he could have let go and done whatever he wanted, attacking instead of defending, or retreating and walking away in style, but Senior Sister was always with him, so he could only play the role of Ling Yunpo honestly, doing nothing but swordsmanship, and from time to time he would have to take a few non-lethal sword energy to show that he had tried his best. Zisu didn't have any doubts, but her face became paler. In order to escape the pursuit with her junior brother, she really tried her best. The two of them fought and retreated and fought, and didn't know where they were. After all, the environment here was really unfamiliar to the two of them, and with the crazy sword fairy chasing them step by step, they really didn't have the leisure to observe the environment and choose a route. After running for an unknown distance, they found that they still hadn't reached the edge of the swamp. Ling Yunpo knew that the direction he chose when he was panicking must lead to the depths of the swamp. Zisu suddenly staggered, although it was only a slight amplitude, but Ling Yunpo still noticed it keenly. "Senior Sister, are you poisoned?" he asked quickly. Zisu did not answer, but Ling Yunpo grabbed her wrist and quickly probed into it with his spiritual sense. After hovering in the meridians for a while, he soon found that Zisu's inner essence was almost completely contaminated by the green miasma. "Senior Sister. Why are you?" Ling Yunpo was panicked and subconsciously wanted to blame her, but swallowed the words when they came to his lips. "What's going on, Ling Yunpo? Don't you know it in your heart?" He cursed himself in his heart, and then thought with the fastest thinking in his life. If he just turned around like a headless fly, he would definitely not be able to escape. The reason is very simple. Although the crazy sword fairy's mind was confused, his speed was not bad at all. It was obviously some kind of mysterious step that was done by instinct. "A Jing," Ling Yunpo said in a deep voice, "have you recorded and analyzed them all?" Ling Jing did not speak, but only carefully analyzed all the scenes of the crazy sword fairy's previous battle with him, and replayed them carefully for him to see. Kingping Sword explained in the video, "I don't know what this footwork is called, but it contains the theory of Badya. Let me explain it in detail, speak to the point." Ling Yunpo interrupted him rudely. "This crazy sword fairy is coming to kill me, why are you still telling me in detail? Don't interrupt me." Kingping Sword also rarely scolded him. "The theory of Badya is profound and extensive. If I don't explain it in detail, you won't understand it at all." Ling Yunpo was speechless, and didn't know why Kingping Sword suddenly got so angry, so he could only say anxiously, "Then tell me faster, I will try my best to understand." Kingping Sword snorted coldly, and then explained it to him in a crackling manner. It must be said that this theory is indeed difficult. If it is written out, it will be like garbled code, which is difficult to understand and does not sound like human language. But Luo Yan has studied the art of formation in Penglai Temple after all, and the thing is like mathematics. With a good foundation in mathematics, how difficult can cryptography be? Before he finished learning, the crazy sword immortal had already come from a distance, saying grimly, "Don't run away, the user of the 7-killing sword technique, they only run away like a mouse." Ling Yunpo didn't waste any words with him, and directly launched the Kingping Sword's Taoism, the green mist cover in the Kanshan Mountains. Although the first level of the Kingping Sword's Taoism has almost no lethality, it is too useful to deal with such a cross-level enemy. Even the crazy sword immortal who has reached the great perfection of the Golden Core Realm cannot use his spiritual consciousness in this water fog. The moment the fog reached him, the crazy sword immortal shot the Shinjinwaki sword at Ling Yunpo. However, Ling Yunpo had already figured out his routine and fighting style, and did not take the attack at all. He just threw the thunder sword backwards, and then became one with the sword with the Kingping Sword to escape from the scene. "Why is it me again?" The thunder sword screamed, and was hit by the Shinjinwaki sword head-on, and then turned back according to the guidance of Ling Yunpo's consciousness. The Shinjinwaki sword was still trying to chase, but Ling Yunpo was not nearby at all. He slashed several times, but nothing happened. When the crazy sword immortal rushed out of the fog, Ling Yunpo had already carried Zisu away. "Senior Sister, hold on for a while." When they arrived at a deep water area, Ling Yunpo stepped on the flying sword and found that Zisu had fallen into a semi-comatose state. He quickly fed her a few pills, then held her wrist, put his hands together, and pointed his 10 fingers together. He poured his true energy into the meridians and tried to pull out Nzisu's poison true energy. It must be said that although Senior Sister Am's true energy was not as strong as his own, she was extremely flexible and agile, and kept avoiding his true energy in the meridians. Ling Yunpa was still listening to King Ping Sword's high explanation, and he had to distract himself to guide Nzisu's true energy. He was so busy. Run, 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 where can you run to? The voice of the crazy sword immortal floated over from afar again. Is the essence of the 7 killing swordsmanship just to hide and run? Ling Yunpo ignored him, but forcibly removed part of the toxins in Nzisu's body, and absorbed the theory of King Ping Sword, nodded and said, well, I almost understand. Will it be used then? King Ping Sword asked leisurely. Not sure. Ling Yunpo sighed, how can I know if I haven't tried it? Then there will be a chance soon. King Ping Sword said meaningfully. Ling Yunpa was stunned for a moment, and suddenly lifted Nzisu up, stepped on the backua, and quickly recited, 5 latitudes are in disorder, and they are moved by the time. 4 and 7 are perverse, and they are separated and upside down. He saw his figure flashing, and instantly appeared dozens of steps away. The place where he and Nzisu were originally standing was pierced by the residual image of the Shin Jinwaki sword. The crazy sword immortal suddenly arrived, and looking at Ling Yunpo who was practicing the mysterious footwork, his bloodshot eyes gradually widened. Then, his veins popped, his teeth clenched, his hair and beard bulged, and he roared with anger. My dividing cloud, back you a step. My dividing cloud, back you a step. How dare you steal and learn, you dirty and shameless little thief. After scolding and cursing for a few words, the crazy sword immortal stepped on the water surface quickly, and in an instant he took more than 10 steps. His figure swayed and he chased Ling Yunpo quickly. His speed was half a second faster than before. Ling Yunpo looked back and was almost scared to death. He shouted, King Ping, what's behind? Read it quickly. Thunder and lightning are in the zodiac, Zhin is thunder. The sky is in the zodiac, Du is a marsh, King Ping Sword quickly read it. Ling Yunpa repeated it, and his feet suddenly became a few more seconds faster, and the distance between them was widened again. But his speed was still not as fast as the crazy sword immortal. Firstly, he was not proficient enough, and secondly, his true essence strength was not as good as the other party. Even though he tried his best, his true essence was surging, and his mind was racing. The crazy sword immortal was still shaking his body, closing the distance by saying, go ahead and run away. As Ling Yunpa was gradually caught up by him, the crazy sword immortal roared angrily, do you really think that you can escape from my palm after learning a few steps from me? When I catch up with you later, I will peel off your skin and pull out your tendons, sacrifice your flesh and blood to the sword, and imprison your soul in the sword, torturing you day and night. Before he finished speaking, he saw an endless thick fog rising around him again. Not only was his vision blocked, but his spiritual consciousness was also completely restricted. How could he see any shadow of Ling Yunpo? Ah! The desperate roar of the crazy sword immortal came from the thick fog. Chapter 352. Driving the tiger to devour the wolf, the poisonous dragon's lair. A hare stood in the swamp, its lower body soaked in the water full of duckweed, its eyes fixed on the distance. It didn't move until the 2 people in the distance disappeared from its field of vision. Then it suddenly flapped its wings and turned into a flying bird, soaring into the sky, and continued to follow that 2 people far behind. Through the bird's vision, the 2 people outside the swamp had a full view of Ling Yunpo's newly learned dividing cloud, back you a step. Jiangling was silent for a moment, and asked, of the new generation of Shushan sword immortals all monsters? It should be that only this boy is special. Ling was also silent for a moment and said, what's his name? Jiangling narrowed his eyes. Ling Poon, it seems to be this name. Ling replied, the top 5 of the Shushan immortal sword ranking is his senior sister Nzisu, and the names of the other 4 people put together are Broken Mountains and Seas, Broken Moon and Clouds. Ling Poon, I remember it. Jiangling smiled and said, I just don't know which one is more powerful compared to Kumling Qiu Chain's Iron. Why don't you compare him with Wei Dongliu? Ling looked at her sideways. My Wei Demon Lord is the strongest. No rebuttal is allowed. Jiangwich immediately glared and said arrogantly, Wei Demon Lord's 100 poison gold and silkworm gear comes out, no matter what you are, Poon Sword Immortal, what chief, you will be eaten alive. Okay. Seeing her unreasonable look, Ling said lazily, Wei Demon Lord has been invincible for thousands of years, What's wrong? Jiangling asked with a frown. They went to the direction of the poisonous dragon's lair. Ling's expression was a little complicated. Ling Yunpo carried Nzisu on his side, and with the help of the effect of the green mist covering the mountains, he quickly distanced himself from them and came to a deep pool. He placed the unconscious sister on the stone next to him, and once again expelled the poison from her. Be careful. Kunlun Mirror suddenly reminded, something is approaching you underwater. How far is it? Ling Yunpo didn't even raise his head. About 200 feet. Kunlun Mirror replied, it seems to be a dragon. Ling Yunpo hummed, and seeing the crazy sword fairy lingering in the distance again, chasing after him, a plan suddenly came to his mind. The mad sword immortal rushed over like a ghost and laughed coldly. You can't hold on anymore? The miasma of this poisonous swamp is pervasive. Even I died here in the past. At this point, he suddenly got stuck for a moment and said in confusion, wait, I am dead. No, I'm still alive, but why do I remember that I seem to be dead? The mad sword immortal suddenly fell into a logical conflict. Ling Yunpo was overjoyed and quickly said seriously, excuse me, which one is stronger, the 7-killing sword technique or the purple wall sword technique? In this short sentence, there were 3 sensitive keywords, so that the mad sword immortal immediately jumped up in anger. Of course it's the purple wall sword technique. If you dare to say a word, I will skin you alive. Oh? Ling Yunpo laughed deliberately, since the purple wall sword technique is more powerful, why do you use the purple wall sword technique of the Golden Core realm to suppress my 7-killing sword technique of the Foundation Establishment realm? You crazy sword immortal was as angry as a bullfight, his eyes seemed to be spitting fire, and he shouted, your cultivation is low, what does it have to do with me? Do you think my cultivation is low? That's fine. Ling Yunpo smiled coldly, my master once used the 7-killing sword technique to kill a dragon in half an hour, can the purple wall sword technique do it? How can it not be done? Crazy sword immortal almost vomited blood. When had he ever been underestimated like this? Even if there is a dragon nearby, it is just a defeated opponent of mine. Before he finished speaking, Ling Yunpo suddenly grabbed Nzisu and rushed to the side of the dividing cloud back a step. The green fog obscured the Kanshan mountains. The boundless fog arose again, and the crazy sword immortal was so angry that he almost cursed. This bastard has no martial ethics. But after all, his soul was incomplete, and he didn't have any other ideas. He just wanted to find that person who used the 7-killing sword technique, defeat him completely with the purple wall sword technique, and then killed him. It was difficult to tell the direction in the fog, so the crazy sword immortal rushed forward, wanting to get out of the fog as soon as possible. As soon as he rushed out of the edge of the fog, he saw a bloody mouth biting him fiercely. It was the poisonous dragon. The crazy sword immortal immediately shot out the Shinjinwaki sword, but his target was the huge poisonous fangs in its mouth. As long as he hit the teeth, he could also generate a large amount of sword energy, which would explode directly in the mouth of the poisonous dragon and severely injure the opponent. However, the poisonous dragon's eyesight was also accurate. When it saw the sword light of the Shinjinwaki sword, it immediately closed its mouth, turned around and hit the water surface with its tail. Countless water splashed up, but in the air it turned into sword energy and shot towards the crazy sword immortal. The crazy sword immortal was immediately furious, because this move of turning water into swords was really like the ability of his Shinjinwaki sword. Moreover, the opponent made a bold change to this move. It spit out yellow-green poisonous turbid air all over its body, which merged into the water flow under it. The sword energy formed after such a slap is yellow-green in color and is highly poisonous. Once it enters the body, it will explode and spread immediately. After Ling Yunpo stole his footwork, the crazy sword immortal hated copying moves. Now that he saw that the poisonous dragon had also stolen his moves, all the pent-up anger erupted. At the moment, he didn't care about anything and directly activated the sword method of the Shinjinwaki sword, and killed the poisonous dragon ferociously and savagely. Ling Yunpo used the fog to cover his figure, making it impossible for the crazy sword immortal to confirm his position, but he did not immediately flee around, but held Nzisu with his arms and dived into the deep pool. He knew that there must be a nest of the poisonous dragon under this pool. The poisonous dragon was probably not a match for the crazy sword immortal, and the latter would never think that he would escape underwater. Dragons are very clean monsters, because they rely on scales to move when they walk, and the scales are densely arranged. If there are gravel and water plants in them, they will feel uncomfortable. So Enlonglong was in the 100 Flowers Valley. He liked to find caves at the bottom of the river to hide. Not only did he want the water to be clear, but he also had to set up obstacles at the entrance of the cave to prevent garbage such as water plants from drifting in. He took Sister to the bottom of the water and searched nearby for a while. Sure enough, he found the entrance to the lair of the poisonous dragon. Unexpectedly, this place seemed to be a relic left by the secret realm, but it was only occupied by the poisonous dragon later. There were also traces of artificial excavation near the cave entrance. Going around the stone blocking the entrance of the cave, Ling Yunpo carefully avoided the mechanism in the passage and finally surfaced. He found a cool and flat place in the cave and laid Sister flat there. She was already blue and purple at this time, and it would be too late to save her later. Ling Yunpo quickly fed her the elixir, then immediately undressed her and began to use his energy to detoxify her. Since the toxins have spread throughout the body, detoxification must be very meticulous, and the true key must be injected into all the surrounding acupuncture points to remove all the residual toxins in the nearby meridians. Although this may be a bit embarrassing for Senior Sister, in an emergency, Ling Yunpo, can't care so much. Chapter 353 Ancient Ruins, Giant Tree Underground. After the toxins were fully removed and Zisu's physical condition was completely stable, Ling Yunpo had time to look around. To be honest, although he had cultivated the Wafu for more than 500 years, he just realized the real benefits of it. The more perfect the Jade Palace is, the faster the Qi rotates, and the faster the probability of regenerating true essence from the Qi is. Zisu fought in the miasma for a while, and the miasma had already entered his body and he could not save himself. Ling Yunpo did not rest from beginning to end. The speed at which the toxins spread in his true essence was not faster than the speed at which his Qi regenerated true essence. After carrying up the Senior Sister who was no longer in danger, Ling Yunpo carefully looked around. This underwater ruins? No, it should not have been located underwater. There are steps in the corridor we just came in, but there is no need for steps in the underwater passage. After all, there is buoyancy, so this ruin should have been in a sunken valley. Later, the valley was flooded, and the entrance to this ruins became the bottom of a deep pool, so it was occupied by the poisonous dragon. However, it seems that the terrain of the entire ruins is gradually upward from the entrance to the depths, so up to this point, the ruins behind have not been eroded by water. As for whether the poisonous dragon is entered inside, that is unknown. Ling Yunpo tends to think that it should have entered, because the dragon has at least the cultivation level of the transformation stage, which means it has almost human intelligence. Facing such a ruin, it is unlikely that it has not been explored. Taking Zisu for a turn inside, Ling Yunpo confirmed that the ruins had indeed been looted and nothing was left. Standing in the central hall, Ling Yunpo thought again. Logically speaking, a sword immortal who has reached the great perfection of the golden core realm should be able to deal with a dragon. But the crazy sword immortal is crazy after all, who knows? What if he suddenly makes a mistake and reveals some flaws? No, I still have to get close to the water surface to confirm. Ling Yunpo was thinking this way, only to hear Kunlun Mirror suddenly say, "There is space below." Ah? Ling Yunpo was stunned for a moment, then lowered his head to look at his feet. Under his feet was a blue stone floor. Although it was covered with dust, if he looked closely, it seemed that there were indeed some kind of marks, but because of the long time, they were filled with a lot of dust. Ling Yunpo pulled out the Kingping sword and used the move of Empty Mountain New Rain, using the water-based sword energy to remove the thick dust and stone chips on the ground, revealing the original formation. Ling Yunpo looked carefully for a long time, and it didn't feel like a formation, but more like a footwork. Looking carefully, the lines were all composed of arcs, and the radius was basically equal to the length of a person's step. If it weren't for the Kingping sword teaching him the dividing cloud backward step, Ling Yunpo might not have thought of this direction, but now he immediately recognized that the arc was the moving trajectory of a person's heel. This is a footwork. He lowered his head to study for a while, and realized that this footwork seemed to have the same origin as the dividing cloud backward step, but it was obviously much more complicated and mysterious. Perhaps when Taoist Master Doi came here, he found some clues and knew that this footwork was hidden here. Of course, it has been so long that it is impossible to verify it. Ling Yunpo followed the lines and practiced this footwork completely. Just after taking the last step, the ground suddenly shook, and then quickly cracked, collapsed, and sank along the crack. Ling Yunpo quickly raised his immortal sword, grabbed Senior Sister who almost fell with him, and then slowly flew down. There seemed to be a natural crack under the floor, which was bottomless to the naked eye. With constant earthquakes and shaking, countless small rocks fell along the edge, and there was no echo of hitting the ground at all. Ling Yunpo had to release a universal clear sound small light spell to illuminate the surrounding environment. After an unknown amount of time, a faint outline finally appeared below. It was not a huge fortress or palace, but a huge, dead tree. Tree? Ah Jin, this tree. Ling Yunpo did not dare to land directly, but asked Kumlin Jim carefully. Dead. Kumlin Jim gave a positive answer, it's a tree demon. Tree demon. Ling Yunpo was a little surprised. Among the demons and monsters, the rarest should be dead things that become spirits, followed by plants. Tree demons are not uncommon, but such a big tree demon, Ling Yunpo has never seen one before. He landed carefully at the bottom, and saw that the tree was about 10 feet high, without leaves, and the branches were dry. It was indeed dead. Near the root of the tree, there was a piece of peeled bark. Under the bark was the upper body of a woman, gently hugging a skeleton. The skeleton was still wearing a tattered Taoist robe. Judging from the style, it was neither the three pure ones and the six Taoist northern and Jiri sects. Ling Yunpo looked carefully and found that the lower half of the woman's body was almost melted into the trunk. Oh, stupid. This woman is a tree demon. Kingping's sword reminded him, after the tree demon died, its body could not maintain its shape, so it turned into a half-grown tree. This tree demon obviously committed suicide by collapsing its skeleton. What about this skeleton? Ling Yunpo asked again. Probably her husband. Kumlin Mirror guessed. Jin, don't be in love. Ling Yunpo said dissatisfiedly, how can you tell that they're lovers? Look at the expression on her face, isn't it very similar to the expression your senior sister gave you? Kumlin Mirror explained. Ling Yunpo took a look and found that they really looked like each other. The gentleness between her eyebrows and eyes was like water, and the love in them was almost overflowing. Oh, I remember. Kingping's sword also said suddenly, the Taoist robe on this skeleton was worn by the real person of the ancient Emei sword sect. So it's from the Emei sword sect. Ling Yunpo nodded. It's a pity that this skeleton is a human. Oh, you two are not the same race, how can you two fall in love? I think it's another tragedy of that era. Kingping's sword sighed, the confrontation between humans and demons is the trend and fashion of the whole world, but there are occasionally some countercurrents in the trend, such as cross-race love. Do you think they are okay? Kumlin Mirror asked in astonishment. Problem? Kingping's sword asked again, and then replied, how can there be a problem? It's not up to you to decide which race you'll be reborn into. Even if it's like the Sun Sword Master, who caused great losses to the human race because of falling in love with a demon, I just think it's a pity. If it's now, how can there be those problems? Ling Yunpo listened silently and had to admit that it was true. In ancient times, falling in love with a demon was almost a crime of treason. But now that the human race has ruled the world of cultivation for more than 100,000 years, the spirit of racial struggle has long been close to nothing. Even if the Shushan disciples go out for training and pass by a village, and hear that someone in the village has married a demon wife, whether to kill or not depends on their mood. If you are in a good mood and you have heard that the other party, although a demon, has no bad deeds, then you can pretend not to see it and walk away. This is likely to happen. Otherwise, if you go and kill the demon, you will be hated and hostile by the human husband, which is also very unlucky. Ling Yunpo gathered his thoughts and began to check the bodies of the tree demon and the skeleton. Sure enough, he found a storage bag that had not decayed at the waist of the skeleton's Taoist robe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 354 Senior Sister Teach Me. Zisu woke up slowly. Although her physique was not as good as Ling Yunpo's, it was only relative. In Shushan, where people valued their physique, Zisu's resistance to miasma toxins was considered to be in the upper middle class. Although it was dark around her, she soon noticed that her clothes had been undone. Because the hidden button was fastened the wrong way. Last time when her junior brother undressed her to heal her, he also fastened the hidden button the wrong way. Zisu was stunned for a moment before she realized that it must be her junior brother who undressed her to remove the poison. Although she was still a little shy, she soon convinced herself and struggled to get up from the ground. This seemed to be somewhere underground. The only light source came from the front. Her junior brother was standing under a giant tree at this time, patiently examining a skeleton. Senior sister, are you awake? Ling Yunpo noticed the noise behind him, turned around and asked with a smile. Yeah. Zisu nodded reservedly, wanting to say something but stopping. She wanted to teach her junior brother again what men and women should not touch each other, but she thought about the fact that the poison had spread to her meridians before she fainted. If she didn't undress and inject the true essence from the acupuncture points all over her body to draw out the poison, what else could her junior brother do? My junior brother is so kind that he won't embarrass me on purpose. Zisu bit her lower lip, her mind was tangled, and she saw Ling Yunpo suddenly throw something to her. She reached out to catch it, only to find that it was a jade slip. After her spiritual sense probed into it, Zisu knew that the owner of the jade slip was called Thongliang, a cultivator of the Immortal Sword sect, and that his death here was suicide. He asked the person who got the jade slip to burn his remains and the remains of the tree to ashes with fire, and then mix them and bury them in the soil. The reward was the things in his storage bag. Since there were only a few words in the jade slip, Zisu was still confused about why that cultivator committed suicide and what his relationship with the tree was. But when she looked past Ling Yunpo and saw the two corpses hugging each other, she seemed to understand something. This senior left a set of footwork in his storage bag. Ling Yunpo continued, "Senior sister, can you take a look?" This time, a scroll of scriptures was thrown over, which contained complete footwork points and diagrams. Zisu looked carefully and realized that this footwork was called Fenun Bagua step. The footwork contained the theory of Sao Bagua, which could move around in a small space without a trace. What's more interesting is that the scriptures mentioned that in the Immortal Sword sect, the status of footwork is almost the same as that of sword control, and almost everyone must learn it. The reason is that in the battle of the sword immortal, fast and accurate displacement is often required. If you step on the flying sword, you have to distract yourself to control the flying sword, which consumes too much spiritual consciousness. If you use footwork to move, on the one hand, you don't need to consume spiritual consciousness, and on the other hand, the instantaneous explosive power is even better than the sword control, so it is a must-learn for sword immortals. However, according to Nzisu's memory, the Shanking sect of Shushan did not have a similar statement. Even the footwork, it is not to say that the inheritance is completely cut off, but like talismans and magic weapons, the status of Shushan is miscellaneous learning, and no summit will teach the footwork as the core of inheritance. Even Master Sujian has never mentioned anything about footwork to me. It's really strange. Seeing that senior sister Am's attention has shifted to the footwork and she has forgotten how she was detoxified, Ling Yunpo secretly called himself lucky and hurriedly continued. "Senior sister, the crazy sword immortal also used this footwork." "Don't call him crazy sword immortal, that's your uncle." Zisu sighed. "Senior sister, you don't know that the soul of the uncle is incomplete. I'm afraid that the residual soul has been reincarnated, leaving only a little obsession in the flesh." Ling Yunpo secretly complained, nodded his head and continued. "According to the scriptures, this Fenun Bagua step is divided into 3 levels. Entry, entry and entry. Master should only be at the entry level, but he is in the Jindan realm, and his true essence is much stronger than ours, so his speed should not be underestimated. If we can learn this step to the entry level, I think we can escape Master's pursuit." "Silly, junior brother." Zisu smiled helplessly. "This step is profound and profound, how can it be so easy to learn?" Ling Yunpo was silent for a moment, and said, "How can we know if we don't try? Senior sister is born with a sword heart. I have Kingping's sword to cheat." "Oh no, it should be said that Kingping's sword helps me, so I think there is still hope. Otherwise, even if I run away from here, I will be caught up by the crazy sword immortal before I leave the swamp. Wouldn't it be an endless cycle of battle royal again? And next time, there may not be a poisonous dragon to divert the trouble." "Well, okay." Zisu is a soft-hearted person after all, only for junior students, and seeing that he was so stubborn, she could only agree. So she drew out the Feon sword, first activated the dagger method on the sword, turned the bodies of the man and the tree into ashes, buried them underground, freed up space, and then began to study with Ling Yunpo. "Senior sister, do you understand it all?" Ling Yunpo thought to himself that he had already learned this footwork, and the current focus was to improve the learning progress of the senior sister and teach her to get started as soon as possible. "Would you walk it first for me to see?" "Oh." Zisu's figure flashed, and she immediately flashed more than 10 feet away. Ling Yunpo. This subtle feeling is like teaching a girl to dance at a school dance, but she can actually learn it after just watching it once, and it seems that she dances better than you. Tianxin Jiangxin, this is too much. "Wow, you are worthy at being my senior sister." He smiled with admiration and said, "There are several places I don't understand yet." "What don't you understand?" Zisu asked seriously. here, and here. Ling Yunpo pointed out a few difficult points in the scriptures, but he had already learned them. Let me teach you. Zisu said with a smile, would you like to walk it once for me to see? Okay. Ling Yunpo didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he pretended to be a beginner and walked it once with a stumbling step. This is not right, you walk like this. Zisu came behind him, close to his body, and taught him how to move his steps, how to twist his waist, and how to step on the ground. I see. Ling Yunpo was secretly happy in his heart, but he said, Senior sister, I don't know this either. This formula is too vague, what does it mean? And here, can you teach me too? Zisu patiently let him walk the whole step 3 or 4 times, and finally he could walk like this. But according to the scriptures, Ling Yunpo's level can only be regarded as entry, while Zisu has already entered. Senior sister, am I useless? Ling Yunpo pretended to be sad. How could this be? Zisu was very anxious and said quickly, it must be that the light in this underground space is too dim. Junior brother, let me take you to walk a few more times. Ling Yunpo gladly agreed and asked the senior sister to teach him again, saying, Senior sister, I seem to have mastered the trick. Look, isn't it very simple? Zisu breathed a sigh of relief and smiled gently, Junior brother, you have a good talent, and it will be no problem to learn this footwork. Yes, senior sister. Ling Yunpo pretended to be resolute and unyielding, no matter how difficult this footwork is, I will definitely be able to learn it with senior sister teaching me. Unyielding character setting, synchronization value +1. It can also increase the synchronization value. Ling Yunpo was overjoyed. Chapter 355. Shushan's reinforcements have arrived. The huge poisonous dragon fell down with a bang, and its poisonous blood dyed the surrounding pool water into a turbid yellow-green color. The crazy sword immortal stepped on the water, proudly put away his sword, and said lightly, nothing special. If my junior brother's 7-killing sword technique can kill it, how can my purple yuan sword technique not kill it? He looked around with disdain and found that there were no spectators at all. He was depressed for a while, and then fell into a state of confusion and stupidity, muttering, no, it's impossible, my purple yuan sword technique can't be weaker than any other sword technique. In 3 or 2 steps, the crazy sword immortal disappeared in the distance of the swamp. After an unknown amount of time, Ling Yunpo and Zisu suddenly rushed out of the water. The two quickly scanned the surroundings, and except for the corpse of the poisonous dragon, they did not see any other creatures. Sure enough, Ling Yunpo said with a smile, this poisonous dragon knows that its nest is below, and there is nowhere to escape, so it has to fight to the death with my uncle. We're lucky this time to choose such a good place. Not bad. Zisu also smiled. Let's run away now while our master hasn't come back yet. Ling Yunpo said calmly. Okay. Zisu naturally had no objection. The two were about to fly up on their swords, when suddenly the crazy sword immortal appeared from a distance like a ghost, approaching them quickly, laughing wildly. Do you think I will leave foolishly? Wrong. I'm lingering around here, waiting for you to take the bait. Ling Yunpo and Zisu looked at each other for a moment, and then they both shook their bodies, suddenly disappeared from the spot, and appeared in the distance again in an instant. Crazy sword immortal. When he came to his senses, he was so angry that his soul almost left his body, and he yelled loudly, and then he quickly used his footwork to chase after them. At the edge of the swamp, a Ling suddenly exclaimed, oh no, they are coming towards us. Then let's run away. Jianglin said immediately. Yes. A Ling immediately retracted the spell, pulled Jianglin's arm with his backhand, and the two rushed out together. Outside the swamp is a forest of giant trees. The two girls went into the forest and heard Ling exclaim again. Someone entered the secret realm. The puppet I placed there was killed. Who? Jianglin asked vigilantly. I don't know. Ling was almost sweating. The cultivation is unfathomable. It is probably the two escaped Shushan sword immortals who moved here to help after returning to Shushan. Jiangmo Envy ran away with her, complaining, I knew it. Listening to you and letting those two go, it will definitely be bad. I'm not soft-hearted. Ling defended, do you have the confidence to force those two to stay? Jiangmo Envy choked up, and said after a while, if my Wei Mojin was here, he would kill them in minutes. If you can invite Wei Dongliu, why do we need to rely on the poisonous dragon and the crazy sword fairy? Wouldn't it be better to directly kill these potential seeds on the Shushan sword immortal list? Miss Ling said coldly. Jiang the witch groaned, and after a while she said, Forget it. Anyway, the aged spiritual herbs in this secret realm have been harvested by the sect in advance, so it doesn't matter if it is exposed to Shushan. Yuti and Modelo are really willing to do this. A Link sighed half-truthfully, such a secret realm is just given to Shushan. You also saw that I wanted to ambush and kill a few potential Shushan disciples to squeeze out the last wave of value. Jiangling spread his hands and said, there is no way if it doesn't work. Then the sect won't blame you? Ling asked. Shushan has sent out powerful people, what else can we do if we don't run away? Jing the witch said confidently. In the swamp, Ling Yunpo and Zisu were flying away on their swords. If they were caught up by the crazy sword immortal, Ling Yunpo would use the green mist to cover the Kangluan to first trap the crazy sword immortal's vision and consciousness, and then the two would quickly run away using the dividing cloud vacuous step. After escaping from the opponent's pursuit range, they immediately switched to flying on their swords. However, no matter how far they escaped, they would soon be caught up by the crazy sword immortal who had escaped from the trap. Seeing that senior sister was about to be poisoned again, Ling Yunpo was furious and planned to break and turn around temporarily, and suddenly use a big move on this uncle. Suddenly, a loud shout came from a distance. Evil disciple. Before the voice fell, the sword light arrived first, and instantly nailed the crazy sword immortal to the ground. Ling Yunpo looked in surprise, and saw a large amount of magnificent sword light cutting through the miasma, like a sharp blade cutting through a piece of silk, and in an instant it arrived in front of him from the horizon. More than a dozen high-level elders of Shushan were all here. The leaders were two people, one was the head of Yujing, and the other was the long-browed immortal. The sword light that subdued the crazy sword immortal just now is the two yin and yang microdust sword of the long-browed immortal. The head of Yujing was the first to press the sword light to land, and gave Ling Yunpo and Zisu a warning look, indicating that the two of them should hurry to the back. The long immortal didn't even look at the two of them, but quickly came to the front of the crazy sword immortal and said in a deep voice, "Doi, what's wrong with you?" The crazy sword immortal looked up at his master in a daze, and suddenly burst into tears. He didn't care that his body was pierced by the Liang-Yi microdust sword, but he cowed out desperately and said, "Master. I'm sorry, Master, I lost to junior brother Su in the way of swordsmanship. I'm ashamed of your expectations and respect." He just kowtowed a few times, and was restrained by the long immortal, but his forehead was already bloody. The long immortal had already noticed that he was not in a good state, and raised two fingers and stabbed him between his eyebrows. After a while, he suddenly looked gloomy and said, "My mind was lost, and I was possessed by the devil. 2 of the 3 souls and 7 spirits have gone, and they have all been taken away by the devil." The expressions of the Shushan elders around him all turned pale when they heard this. If there is anything that high-level cultivators are most afraid of, the first one is probably the heavenly tribulation, but the second one is definitely the inner demon. This kind of inner demon is not a weak demon summoned by the heavenly demon or with sacrifices, but a profound demon from outside the domain who has truly cultivated the 7 emotions and 6 desires and achieved the Tao. It can travel through the sky and come to this world, looking for cultivators with flaws in their Tao hearts, and live in them. Once a cultivator loses his mind for any reason, the inner demon will immediately attack and absorb all the host's soul, spirit, and blood, leaving only an empty shell, that is, the demon that the cultivators are extremely afraid of. After listening to the judgment of the long-browed immortal, everyone knew that Taoist Master Doi actually lost to the 7 killings immortal Su Jian in the first sword fight, which caused a flaw in his Tao heart. He was accidentally controlled by the inner demon outside, and eventually became possessed and lost his 2 souls and 6 spirits. The former Shushan elite has fallen to this point, which makes people sigh. The long-browed immortal's face was as gloomy as water, and he saw the Liang-Yi microdust sword turn again, and then he killed the crazy Taoist Master Doi. His remaining soul and spirit escaped from his body, and the immortal Longmei shot another stream of immortal energy to consolidate his soul, revealing the vague appearance of Doi Shenren before his death. He bowed to everyone in the air, and then quickly circled and disappeared. Ling Yunpo hid behind that crowd and watched, knowing that Doi Shenren's soul was sent to reincarnate by the immortal Longmei. However, with only 1 soul and 1 spirit, even with the immortal Longmei's immortal energy to protect him, he would be a stupid and mentally retarded child in the next life, and he must reincarnate at least 9 times before he can return to normal. On the road to cultivation, there are not only many difficulties and obstacles, but also great dangers. If you are not careful, you will end up with your soul scattered. Ling Yunpo was sighing with emotion, and saw that the immortal Longmei suddenly turned around and glanced in this direction. He was not looking at himself, but at senior sister and beside him. What made him even more uneasy was that there was no warmth and kindness in that look. Chapter 356 Ruthless Thong Zhao. After returning to Shushan with Nzesu, Ling Yunpo began to load the save. Point 5. Donghuan Demon Realm, Nanzhao, Wujing City. Character Identity. Long. Mirror Flower Water Moon Templar covered, currently traveling through time and space. After long you crossed the river, they came to the nearest demon stronghold, Wujing City. This city is similar to the previous Nanfeng City, both of which are dominated by feathered demons. The difference is that Nanfeng City is mostly bluebirds, while Wujing City is mostly crows. The former prefers blue clothing, while the latter prefers black clothing. After staying in the inn in the city for a few days, Long discovered that almost all the feathered people here have a subtle rejection and hostility towards non-feathered demons. This is most vividly reflected in the feathered monks. For example, during the daily room inspections of the inn, the monks of Wujing City treat the guests of the feathered people politely, but treat the guests of the scale, hair, and armor tribes coldly. As for the Horn tribe, due to the war with the Kulin tribe in Thongzhou, there are no more Horn tribes in the city. Of course, apart from racial discrimination, class discrimination is more obvious. Between monks and non-monks, there is a more obvious, huge, and indifferent gap based on whether or not they have transformed. Feathered monks look down on those untransformed demons, and there is also a clear discrimination chain among demons. The closer they are to human form, the more arrogant they are. The burning blood level demons, who are closest to human form, live in the bustling streets on both sides of the main road in Wujing City. They open shops, set up stalls, do business, basically all those who may interact with monks of these demons. Except for a few bird characteristics such as feathers on their bodies, they are almost the same as humans in terms of walking upright, speaking, and thinking patterns. The second is the expanding bone-level demons, who retain a lot of bird characteristics and live in slums near the city wall. They have more feathers on their bodies, smaller eyes, and mouths that are closer to beaks. They speak bird language that is difficult to understand and do some monotonous, repetitive, and hard labor work, such as moving bricks, repairing roads, carrying manure, etc. The little demons of the burning blood stage often regard themselves as proper citizens of Wujing City. They will hardly step into the residential area of the little demons of the expanding bone stage. Even if they meet them on the road, they will avoid them from a distance. If they enter the store, they will be driven away immediately and will not be allowed to stay for too long. As for the lowest key induction stage, this kind can almost be said to be a demon beast. They don't even have basic wisdom, and they are not allowed to enter the city gate. Although Long and Long were not from the feathered clan, they have mastered the secret art of transformation. Even if their cultivation level has not reached the transformation stage and they don't have a demon pill, their appearance looks exactly like that of humans, without any animal characteristics. Therefore, when walking in the city, they are also treated as cultivators by these feather clan. Although they are not as enthusiastic as the feather clan cultivators, as long as Long and Long speak, they dare not refuse to respond. In the restaurant in Wujing City these days, they have been eating red meat and fruits, and Long was a little depressed. As for the insect meal that is popular in the restaurant, she has no interest in it at all. Long. After lunch, she pestered Long to play with him, insisting that he continue to go north and enters Thongzhou. The little fox, don't want to stay in this broken place where I can't eat chicken for a moment. Don't make trouble, the war zone is further north, how can we get through there? Long smiled bitterly and rubbed her face, and was angrily slapped by Longhu. He had already inquired clearly in the city. Leaving Wujing City and continuing north along the river is the battlefield of Thunao and Kulin. A large number of Feather Clan monks and Horn Clan monks are fighting there. Not to mention the trade routes on the river, even the land passenger transport is completely blocked. Only the stowaways and smugglers who are not afraid of death will think of going there. But this is not difficult for the experienced Long. He has studied the map. The border between Nanzhou and Thongzhou is more than 1,000 miles. There must be a way to avoid the war zone and enter Thongzhou. Otherwise, what should the Horn clan who was stranded in Nanzhou before the war do? No matter which city of the feathered clan you're in, you'll be arrested and tortured from time to time. Who can stay here to confirm that there is no suspicion of spies? You must flee to Thongzhou as soon as possible. Long can be sure that Wujing City is the northernmost city in Nanzhou, and there must be people from the Horn clan in the city who know how to go to Thongzhou. It's just because of the high-pressure attitude in the city that these Horn clan are hiding. So, how to find the Horn clan in the fastest way? Long Long thought for a moment and knew that as an outsider, he definitely didn't know how to find the Horn clan. But the monks in Wujiang City must be able to. They capture suspicious Horn clan in the city all day long. Of course, they are not really looking for spies, but just trying to make a fortune. As long as the fee is paid, the interrogation will end, otherwise you will be detained indefinitely. And these Horn clan who have just been released are the ones that Long Long can contact the fastest. After squatting at the gate of the government office in the city with the dragon fox for a long time, almost attracting the interrogation of the patrolling monks, Long Long finally squatted and saw a group of people coming out. To be exact, it was a group of Horn clan members. The leader seemed to be a fat merchant, who was sweating and flattering the Feather clan monks, while the latter kept driving him out with the attitude of treating trash. Because this Horn clan merchant had horns, it meant that he should be a burning blood level demon, and was considered by the monks to be relatively less stupid. Let's follow him. Long Long whispered. Okay. Long Yu said. The two followed the Horn clan for a while, and Long Long confirmed that there was no one around, so he showed up and blocked the other party in the alley. These Horn clan members were suddenly stopped by someone, and they were almost scared at first, until they saw that the person who came was in completely transformed form. The fat merchant in the lead showed a smile that was uglier than crying, and said in a trembling voice, "Sir, I ask your answer." Long Long was not interested in taking care of his emotions, so he simply got straight to the point. Okay. When the fat merchant heard that he was not asking for money, he smiled and said, "I will tell you everything I know." "What is the fastest route from here to Thongzhou?" Long Long asked. Several members of the Horn clan looked at each other, and the fat merchant was also stunned for a moment, then replied, "There are many routes to Thongzhou, but the fastest one is definitely through the war zone, next." Long Long interrupted him. He was not confident enough to pass through the war zone between the Feather clan and the Horn clan. If you want to consider safety, then you must go through the three-legged mountain range. The fat merchant replied, "As long as you can get in touch with the Golden Crow clan, you can pass through the volcanic area and enter the Fengxi Valley in the south of Thongzhou. Because there are too many small paths on this route, there are basically no checkpoints. But the disadvantages are also obvious. One is that it is too rugged and difficult to walk, and the other is that you must deal with the Golden Crow clan who live on the volcano." The fat merchant finally smiled bitterly and said, "After all, you have to pass through their territory." Chapter 357 The Golden Crow Clan's Commission. The 3-foot mountain range is named after the 3 highest peaks that can be seen from afar. This mountain range is mainly east-west and is also that dividing line between Nanzhou and Thongzhou. The south is hot and dry, and there are many volcanoes, so it is basically a bare rock landscape without vegetation. The north has a lot of vegetation and meadows due to the moist airflow from Dongzhou, and the climate is much better than the south of the mountain range. The Jinwu clan lives in the south of the 3-foot mountain range, firmly occupying several passes into the mountain, and collecting tolls day after day. Of course, it is said that mining and smelting are the main business of the Jinwu clan, and collecting tolls is just to make extra money. On the way, Long Long met many fleeing Horn tribe members. After careful inquiry, he learned that due to the northern war zone, most of the caravans and travelers now have changed to the 3-foot mountain range. Correspondingly, the toll has also risen, from 10,000 crystals half a year ago to 20,000 crystals recently, and it is said that the price will increase. Hearing this price, Long Long and Long were also amazed. Long Yu's mother left almost 2,000 crystals in the bag for the two to start up. After Long Long worked tirelessly on the road and Long wet and drank, there was still about 1,000 crystals left. It was far from enough to pay the toll. At this point, of course, it was impossible to make enough money to go. God knows how much the price will rise by then. After experiencing the real estate craze before the time travel, Long Long knew that in the rising market, the speed at which you save money is simply not as fast as the speed at which financial prices rise. You must come up with a surprise. He asked the next wave of Horn clan refugees he met again, and he knew that the Jinwu clan was extremely fond of shiny, rare, and valuable items. If you don't have enough money, it's no problem to get some gold and fire magic weapons to make up for it. However, Long Long and Long did not have any extra magic weapons except for their own flying swords. The two hurried along the mountain road and met another group of Horn clan refugees. After asking around, they learned that there were also travelers who could not pay the toll in the past. In the end, they were sent to the mines by the Golden Crow clan to mine. They could work for a few months to pay for the expenses, and they were provided with food and accommodation during the period. This plan was immediately rejected by Long Long. It was impossible to work. How could a monk go to mine? So, the Golden Crow monk guarding the checkpoint frowned and asked, "You have no money, no magic weapon to pay off the debt, and you are unwilling to go to mine?" "I am from the Scale clan, she is from the Hair clan, and we are not the Horn clan known for our strength." Long Long said sincerely, "If we want to mine, the amount that the ordinary Horn clan digs in a month will probably take us more than 3 or 4 months. It is really difficult to use our skills. But we don't have any other work for you except mining." The Golden Crow monk had just finished speaking, and suddenly seemed to remember something, and showed a strange expression and smiled. "Unless you dare to take risks." "Take risks?" Long Long asked. "The slag left after our smelting will be thrown into a cave in the back mountain together with the garbage produced by the tribesmen on a daily basis," the Golden Crow monk explained. "The fire element shooty will surge in that cave regularly, thus burning the slag and garbage. But recently, a few thieves stole the tribe leaders' things, and when they were chased, they panicked and fled into the cave. Since everyone is worried that they will encounter an explosion of fire element shooty after going down, the tribe plans to hire outsiders to search for them. If you can find the stolen items of those thieves and bring them back intact, not only can the toll be waived, but we can also pay you an extra fee." Wow. When Long Hu heard that there was a reward, he immediately discussed with Long Long, "It sounds like a good deal." Naive Long Long laughed at her in a low voice. "Don't listen to him talking lightly, because I don't know how many important things he evades. Let's not talk about anything else. Is the danger in the cave just the eruption of the fire Yuan's Hingan? So no one from the Jinwu tribe dared to go in, and they had to hire outsiders who didn't know the details to find it?" "Yes." Long Hu was not stupid. He reacted immediately after hearing Long Long's reminder. This fire Yuan's Hingan must be extremely dangerous, so the Jinwu tribe had to hire outsiders to explore the cave. It was obvious that they were treating outsiders as consumables. If they managed to come out alive, they would not lose anything by getting back the stolen items. If they died in there, they would not have to pay. It was a business that was guaranteed to make money. Seeing that the two men were whispering, it was clear that they were not fooled by his words, and the Jinwu monk did not care much. Whether it succeeded or not, it was just a matter of 2 cannon fodders, and there was no need to push them into the fire pit. Anyway, tolls were the rules of the tribe, and it was definitely impossible to make concessions for these 2 people. "This immortal?" Long Long asked with a smile. "If I want to inquire about the specific situation of the cave exploration, who can I find out?" "You can go to the right site or went to the tribe and say that you want to sign up to explore the cave." The Golden Crow monk pointed casually. "Before you go down the cave, someone will explain it to you." "That's great, thank you." Long Long thanked sincerely. He took the little fox's hand and walked towards the direction of the Golden Crow tribe. Long was a little puzzled. Long Long just said that this task had many hidden risks, and now he seemed to be planning to do it. Why? Thinking carefully, she had a vague understanding. Whether to do a task or not, it must be based on comprehensive information. Whether to rashly believe the other party's words or to doubt and retreat without evidence is not a reasonable choice. Bringing the thoughtful little fox to the Golden Crow tribe, Long Long was soon led to one of the stone houses after reporting his intention. There are no trees or vegetation south of the Sanzan Mountains, but the mineral output is extremely rich, so most of the buildings in the tribe are made of special stones, which are correct and feel very warm to the touch. Long Long studied the building materials in the house for a while, and then saw a few more people being brought in. They were probably monsters who had no money to pay the toll and planned to take on the cave exploration mission. The little fox hid behind Long Long in fear, pulling the hem of his clothes and stopped talking. The 3 people who came were all from the Horn clan. Judging from the shape of their horns, they seemed to be some kind of cattle, and they were also sturdy and strong. The leading bull monster looked at Long Long, who was only as tall as his waist, and smiled honestly, then slowly retracted his gaze. Soon, a Golden Crow monk pushed the door open and explained many matters about exploring the cave to everyone. "The stolen item we need you to find is a black feather fan called the Golden Crow True Fire Fan. Although this magic weapon is rare, it can only be powered by the true blood of our Golden Crow clan. You can't use it even if you take it, so don't have any inappropriate thoughts. The Golden Crow True Fire Fan is made up of 18 black feathers. There are 3 immortal seals engraved on the fan handle. It is very easy to identify. You'll definitely not make a mistake after you get it. After finding this fan, return it to us when you get out of the cave. In addition to the right to pass the checkpoints of the 3-legged mountain range, the reward is 80,000 moon crystals, or you can choose any magic weapon from our clan's treasure house and take it away. As soon as the work fell, the three bull monsters looked at each other for a moment, and then said in unison, "If the three of us brothers find the stolen item, the reward will be only one magic weapon. How should we divide it? I wonder if we can. How to distribute is your business, I don't care." The Golden Crow Monk interrupted impatiently, then looked at Long Long and Longu and continued, "If you can't divide it, it's the same to choose the moon crystal stone." Long Long had no expression on his face, and sneered in his heart. If it was a low-level demon, maybe there would be some who chose the crystal stone. Who doesn't know the importance of their own strength when they really embark on the road of cultivation? Without magic weapons to protect themselves, rashly getting money is just saving money for others. Chapter 358 The Draken and the Fox's First Adventure. The Fire Yuan's Gang may be something that ordinary cultivators have never heard of, but Shushan Ling Yunpo has heard of it. The reason is simple. There is a Fire Yuan cave under Shushan, which also contains the Fire Yuan's Gang. Those who enter need to protect their bodies with the Chuanguan ruler, otherwise they will be burned to death if they are close to the Fire Yuan's Gang. This Fire Yuan cave has another feature, that is, every time the Fire Yuan's Gang erupts, it will melt the nearby rock walls, and after recondensation, the cave structure will be completely changed. Even if you remember the way you came, an eruption will make all your efforts go to waste, and it is impossible to return the same way. The above two factors make the Fire Yuan cave almost an inaccessible Jedi. Just look at the Shushan King sect using the Fire Yuan cave as a storage place for the sect's resources, and you can know how dangerous it is. However, the Jinwu clan kept silent about this, as if they didn't care whether they could come back alive. No. If no one can come back alive, how can they find the stolen things? Unless from the beginning, they wanted us to go down, it was not for the stolen things. Thinking of this, Long Long suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. However, as a water viper, he is a completely cold-blooded animal and does not sweat, so he just frowned slightly. If what I inferred is true, then I am afraid that sending death is the real purpose of letting us go down. Long Long looked outside the door calmly, and saw the Jinwu monk standing outside the door, looking at him with an indifferent expression. What's the problem? In the Yuan cave, besides the Yuan's Hingan, are there any other dangers? Long Long asked with a smile. No. The Jinwu monk shook his head and said, as if he didn't mean to say more. No danger? Long Long's mood immediately cooled down. Yuan's Hingang itself is the biggest danger, but the Jinwu clan obviously avoided talking about this, which clearly showed that there must be a problem. And this monk blocked the door and didn't mean to let us go. Long Long sighed in his heart, and turned to communicate with Kunlun Jing. The little fox hid behind him. Although there was no communication, she was very thoughtful. She noticed that Long Long was a little anxious and couldn't help but feel worried. After a while, everyone finally agreed. It was just that the three bull monsters were tempted by the reward, but Long Long realized the danger and knew that he and Longu had fallen into the trap and had to go. The Golden Crow Monk led them to the back mounting, and saw that the surrounding area was obviously much hotter, and the soil and rocks on the ground were also redder. On the rock wall in front, there was an obvious big hole, which was almost one person tall and two people shoulder to shoulder wide. From time to time, hot wind blew out of it. The bull monsters looked inside and saw that the depths were not as deep and dark as ordinary caves. Instead, the cave was bright, and their fears were gone. Long Long was not as careless as them. He just knew that this light was the most terrifying. There was no terrifying fire in the ordinary cave that was enough to burn ordinary magic weapons. The bull monsters couldn't wait to go in. Long Long turned his head to look at the Jinwu monk who was smiling but not smiling, and then looked at the somewhat timid Longu. Let's go, he said softly. At this point, there is nothing to regret. Before coming here to ask, it was impossible for me to know that there was danger here. After knowing that, I couldn't leave. It was indeed an irresistible experience. However, for me, this place may not be a dead end. Ling Yunpo couldn't pass through the Fire Yuan cave, but it didn't mean that Long Long had no way. Pulling Longu inside, he skillfully drew out the Longyin sword and made it float 3 feet in front of him, ready to meet possible attacks at any time. Although Longu didn't have such rich experience in fighting, she followed suit and took out the Foxmin sword and held it in her hand. It's not like this. Long Long instructed her, you have to let it float in front of you, about an arm's length away. The tip of the sword is tilted upwards, and the hilt is tilted downwards. The hilt should be slightly higher than your line of sight. Why is that? Longu asked curiously. The distance of one arm is to allow the flying sword to protect the attack in time. The tilt of the sword body is to facilitate the downward strike at any time. It is slightly higher than your line of sight, naturally, so as not to block your line of sight. I see. Long suddenly realized. Of course, she didn't know that this was the experience gained by the Shushan Sword Immortals in long-term fighting. She just thought it was Long's personal combat experience, and immediately admired it. The two continued to walk into the cave. Perhaps thinking that the time was right, Long continued to teach her. When moving forward in such a narrow place, you must pay attention to reconnaissance. Keep your sight on the route directly in front of you, and pay attention to the edges of your sight, such as above, below, and left and right. But this alone is not enough, you also have to use your spiritual sense to focus on scanning behind you, so as not to be attacked from the blind spot of your sight. As he said this, Long suddenly stacked his sword diagonally backwards. At the fork in the road that the two had just passed, a bull demon suddenly rushed out from the blind spot and rushed towards their backs fiercely. Although Long did not look back, the long sword floating in front of him suddenly turned around and stabbed behind him. This was so unexpected that when the bull demon reacted, the long sword had already stabbed his forehead. Then it went through his skull neatly. Long turned her head and stared at the corpse for a moment, and suddenly screamed in fear. What's there to scream about? Long patted her head and said, it was just a sneak attack. His tone was so light that Long stared at him for a long time, and suddenly asked, Long, someone is hiding here to kill us, aren't you afraid? Afraid? Long smiled, why should I be afraid? Long sword stabbed out again, beheading the bull demon that rushed out from the other direction, and its head fell directly from its neck. The blood splashed on the wall of the cave, and with Long's emotionless grin, Long inexplicably felt a sense of fear as if she had seen a cold-blooded animal. However, it seemed that there was an impulse reviving and resonating in her heart. That was a kind of cold-bloodedness and arrogance that the dragon race had passed down from generation to generation, despising all the lower monster races. What's wrong with you? Long suddenly asked in surprise. He noticed that the little fox's pupils, which had been disguised, suddenly seemed to be out of control and turned into golden vertical pupils. And the uncontrolled and surging dragon power burst out. Long almost didn't retreat, but after all, he also had the blood of Long in his body, so he was not intimidated by the dragon power, but was just in doubt. I saw the fox sword spin around and shoot into the cave in front. Then there was a puffing sound of piercing flesh and blood. Long immediately scanned his consciousness and knew that the last bull monster saw that the situation was not good and wanted to escape, but was discovered and assassinated by the dragon fox. It's actually quite simple. The little fox showed a relieved expression, and the pupils turned into normal irises again, and the dragon blood was also rapidly dormant. The pendant of the fragment of the sky-making stone hidden in her chest still emitted a colorful light. Chapter 359. Fire Yuan's gang, roaring. Why did they attack us? Asked the dragon fox. Why so many whys? Long held the little fox's soft and warm little hand and said, they may be tempted by money, by beauty, or they may want to capture us and use us as bait to explore the way ahead. As long as we can be sure that they're hostile to us, then killing them is the right thing to do. Oh. The little fox nodded. Then how do we judge whether others are hostile to us? For example, attack us? Freely judge. Long replied. Ah? The dragon fox was a little stunned. First of all, the life and death of a cultivator is often in a flash. Long replied, you don't have much time to react. Therefore, as long as you think someone is hostile to you, even if there is no evidence, you should be alert immediately. Otherwise, when others attack you, you will be late to prepare to fight back, which is really too dangerous. Oh. The dragon fox seemed to have realized something and nodded continuously. The two walked around the corpses of the bull monsters lying in all directions, and Long picked up their storage bags and checked them. What a bunch of junk, just throw it away. Don't we want those things? Long asked curiously again. They are all garbage. Long grabbed the storage bags again, poured out the contents, and reviewed them one by one to the little fox. The most basic rejuvenation pills are used to treat external injuries. They are useless to cultivators. After all, injuries in battles are often equivalent to death. Ox horns, materials for making tools. The level is too low. At most, they can only be used to make some armor. They are useless. Some messieurs, all low-level materials for making tools, garbage. Spiritual herbs, I suspect they are not used to make pills, but snacks. He threw the storage bag on the ground with disgust, and took the little fox's hand and said, let's go. Okay. Long Hu was still a little reluctant, because her storage bag was almost empty except for the remaining moon crystal stone. However, since Long Long said they were all garbage, forget it. One day, I will fill my storage bag with magic weapons. The little fox was full of fighting spirit. Long Long led the dragon fox deeper and said, Arjun, give me a map. Let's talk about it in advance. Kumlinjing said vigilantly, the maze here will change. If the map suddenly changes like the last time in the Li Ancient Treasure House, you can't blame me. Of course not you. Long Long was immediately shocked. Arjun, am I the kind of scumbag who will kill the donkey after it has done its work? Aren't you? Kumlinjing was shocked. Definitely not. Long Long's face turned cold and reminded her, Beauty and she, risking undercover, saving the world. Say it again, am I a scumbag? Ahem. Kumlinjing coughed a few times to cover up his embarrassment. Who said you were a scumbag? I was just asking a rhetorical question, a rhetorical question. It is used to express the absurdity that arises when I hear your question. After all, how could you be a scumbag? TSK. King Ping Sword was watching from the side and sighed. I didn't expect this thing to be contagious. But anyway, it doesn't work on me. The two continued to move forward. With the support of the Kunlun Mirror's map, Long Long could see the route ahead in advance and make reasonable plans. The Fire Element Cave in the Eastern Empire realm was still surprisingly large. It extended for several miles and there was still no sign of the end. Moreover, most of the passages on the cave walls were narrow and difficult to pass through. After all, it was reconstructed after being repeatedly melted by the Fire Element True Gang, and it would not consider whether it was convenient for cultivators to pass through. In addition to the maze structure, the Kunlun Mirror also thoughtfully marked several key points, all of which were places with relatively large spiritual power and were extremely suspicious. Well, let's go to the nearest point. After walking with Long Yu for almost an hour, they finally arrived at the first spiritual power point. This was a long and narrow dead end. Long Yu saw the cave wall in front from a distance and shouted, Long Long, we can't go through the front, shall we go back? Wait. Long Long pulled her forward, and indeed saw a skeleton at the end. Next to the skeleton were a few scattered stones and a feather fan. Long Long. Long Yu. Wait, isn't this the Golden Crow True Fire fan? Long Long picked up the fan and examined it carefully for a moment. 18 feathers and 3 immortal seals on the handle of the fan really fit the description of the Golden Crow Monk. As for the stones, according to Long Long's knowledge, they should be the 9 Crow Blazing Sunstones. This thing often appears near the Golden Crow clan's territory. It is said that it seems to be a byproduct of their cultivation of their own bloodline or innate magical powers, and when they have cultivated to a very high level. It contains a large amount of violent and pure fire spirit power, which can be used to refine some magic weapons and flying swords, as well as attach powerful forbidden methods to fire flying swords when forging swords. Long Long suddenly remembered that Luo Yan took the Tianu Divine Shuttle with a very awesome name in the Gaiku secret realm last time, and the first layer of the seal that was unsealed contained this thing. So he put away the stones and began to check the Golden Crow True Fire fan again. Judging from the traces of the scene, these things should have been stored in the bag that the skeleton carried with him, but due to the eruption of the Fire Element True Gang, the bag was burned, so the things inside exploded. Ordinary elixirs and magic weapons cannot resist the corrosion of the Fire Element True Gang, but the 9 Crows Blazing Sunstone and the Golden Crow True Fire fan can. As for the skeleton, it should be a high-level cultivator of the Golden Crow clan, so the corpse can withstand the waves of the Fire Element True Gang. It's strange. According to reason, with this person's cultivation level in his lifetime, how could he fall to the level of a thief? The more Long Long thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. The information provided by the Golden Crow clan was too little, and it was clear that there was no sincerity at all. If he returned rashly like this, even if he returned the Golden Crow True Fire fan, he didn't know what treatment he would receive in the future. Even if he was killed to silence his mouth, it was not impossible. No, I have to see if I can find another exit under this Fire Element cave. The danger of returning the same way is too great. Just as Long Long made up his mind, he heard Long Yu suddenly shout, Long Long, look ahead. He looked forward and saw a red light suddenly lit up in front of him. The light was extremely blazing and fierce. What else could it be but the Ouyuan Zingan that he saw in the Ouyuan cave in Shushan last time? The sea of light gushed over like a tide, and almost in an instant it spread over a distance of dozens of feet, blocking the two at the end of the passage, and the distance between them was still shrinking. Long hid behind him in fear, and Long held his breath and concentrated, pinching the spells in his hands, and 5-colored divine light radiated from his hands. The acquired 5-element extinction divine light restrains everything in the world that is not out of the 5 elements, even the fiercer Yuan Xinggang is no exception. Chapter 360. In-depth exploration, strange cave. The eruption of the fire Yuan Xinggang lasted for a full quarter of an hour. Long, who was blocked at the end, had to maintain the 5 elements divine light to prevent the 2 from being swallowed by the fire Yuan Xinggang. When the tide of the fire gang receded, he leaned against the cave wall in embarrassment, feeling that his qi was almost completely exhausted. If it were another cultivator here, even if he mastered the 5 elements divine light, he would not have so much Yuan support. This fire Yuan cave is really a dangerous place. Long, are you okay? The little fox asked anxiously. It's okay. Long waved his hand. With the current level of perfection of his jade mansion, he can replenish his qi in minutes. The real trouble is that he doesn't know where to go. Pulling Long out of the long corridor, Long thought for a moment and decided to go deeper. Because the Fire Yuan cave will change its own cave structure every time the Fire Yuan Xinggang erupts, that is to say, a new passageway exit connecting to the outside world may appear at any time. If it really doesn't work, find a place deep in the Sanzha Mountains and far away from the Jinwu clan's perigee, and then use the 5 elements divine light to transform soil and rocks and dig it out. Considering the terrifying speed of the 5 elements divine light's true essence consumption, Long can only use it as a last resort and explore the fire element cave first. The 2 of them continued to go deeper into the cave. Due to the eruption of the fire element just now, the cave structure has changed significantly. A strange and particularly spacious cave also appeared in A. Jing's new map for the first time. A Jing? Long asked in confusion, where is that place? I don't know. Kunlun Mirror replied, it was out of my scanning range before. Well, it may have been blocked originally, and the eruption just happened to mount the entrance. Although this explanation is too far-fetched, it seems not impossible. Long sighed, let's go and take a look. He moved forward cautiously, always keeping an eye on the surroundings, for fear that the fire element true energy would suddenly erupt again. Long was ignorant and fearless. He took the Jinwu true fire fan in his hand and played with it, studying how to use it. Long. She had been trying for a long time but still had no idea. She couldn't help but cry out, how do I drive this magic weapon? First, I have to drip blood to recognize the master. Long sighed. But I'm afraid of pain. The little fox was pitiful. Long, let me do it. He took the golden crow true fire fan and tried to drip a drop of blood on it. No reaction. The fan was obviously refusing to recognize the master. Perhaps, as the Golden Crow monk said, it must be driven by the blood of the Golden Crow clan. Long came to a conclusion silently and was about to explain it to the little fox, but he saw her eyes shining and staring at him, as if she was looking at an idol she worshipped. No, the magic weapon cannot be driven, which is a small matter. Losing prestige in front of a fox is a big matter. As we all know, foxes are canines, and canines are social creatures, and they care very much about the hierarchy within the population. If you show your fear in front of the little fox, you will lose your prestige and you will not be able to do whatever you want with her in the future. Jin, I need you to lend me a hand. Long said in a deep voice in his heart. Kunlun Mirror was silent for a while, then said, I don't have most of the monster bloodliner templates, but Jin was one of the few exceptions. Since you only need to make the Jinwu true fire fan recognize its master, there is no need to establish a corresponding personality. I will directly fine-tune your mirror flower water moon illusion. As soon as she'd finished speaking, Long felt the feathered fan in his hand suddenly vibrate for a moment, and the feeling it brought became familiar. After mirror flower water moon pretended to have the Jinwu bloodliner, it finally successfully deceived the fan. Considering that it has no spirit, it should be able to be driven without any hindrance after recognizing its master. Long injected his true essence into it, and then fanned the fan vigorously. Countless Jinwu true fires rose with the wind and rushed directly to the rock wall, and soon burned into the rock wall, as if a hot spatula was pressed on a piece of butter. After a slight assessment of its power, Long found that this thing was slightly stronger than Sister's Yu's Great Light Fire. Zhu Yingyan's Great Light Fire mainly has the characteristics of suppressing evil and exterminating evil spirits, and its diffusion range is also wider, but the intensity of the flame is about 30% inferior to that of the Golden Crow True Fire. He was just thinking about it, and the dragon fox saw that the fan had already recognized its owner, and immediately cheered. Wow, Long Long! Lend it to me, lend it to me. Long Long was about to throw the fan to her, but suddenly changed his mind. Why is this guy like Mishi, who wants everything fun when he sees it? No. If I give the fan to her directly, it will definitely further cultivate her spoiled character, and finally become the fox version of Mishi. Isn't that a duplication of personality? I will never allow this to happen. No. Long Long said. Give it to me. Dragon Fox jumped up and tried to grab it, but Long Long raised his arm and couldn't reach it at all. She was so anxious that tears welled up in her eyes. You bullied me again. You promised your mother to take good care of me. Don't make up weird promises in your mind. Long Long said speechlessly, I only promised your mother to send you to Beiming Fanyang safely. You didn't let me play, and I got angry all the way. The little fox snorted, I'm angry, can I still be considered well? Long Long. This ability to make specious arguments, I don't know where she learned it from. Considering that since she woke up, the only person she has contracted is me. Does that mean? Well, it means that the fox's racial talent is so strong that even my upright character can't influence her, and she needs to be trained well in the future. Sighing, Long Long threw the fan to Dragon Fox. Dragon Fox took the fan as if it were a treasure, and then began to fan it, excitedly setting fires everywhere. Long Long led her deeper and deeper, and finally arrived at the door of the spacious cave on the map. There was no trace of any artificial construction around here. It seemed to be a huge space formed naturally. The cave walls and floors were not flat, and there was nothing worth noting. Long Long went to the small map given by a Jin to confirm again, and found that there was no trace of spiritual power here. Forget it, just treat it as a natural cave. Let's go, Longhu. He called the little fox. Longhu was still playing with the golden crow true fire fan over there, fanning it excitedly towards the front and releasing a large amount of fierce true fire. I saw that the rock wall in front was burned clean, revealing that the inside was still rock. This is also natural. After all, if the back of the rock wall is hollow, a Jin would have discovered something wrong long ago. However, as the rock wall was melted by the golden crow true fire released by Longhu, something embedded in the rock was also rapidly emerging. This thing, the material is exactly the same as the surrounding rock wall, which is correct stone, and the joints are almost seamless, without any gaps. But as the surrounding rock walls melted rapidly in the real fire, this thing showed no signs of deformation. Judging from the exposed shape, it should be an arch. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 361 Hidden Formation, Long Distance Transmission. In the Temple of the Golden Crow Clan, sandalwood was lingering and floating upwards. The Golden Crow priest, who was covered in red feathers, was dancing a mysterious dance in the center of the hall, singing. The sun rises from the east. The sun shines brightly, and it crosses Fuzang. I sigh, where is Fuzang? My heart is lingering, and my clothes are full of tears. His singing tone was mournful, and the Golden Crow elders stood on both sides. Their expressions were solemn and sad. Everyone's thoughts went back to ancient times, when the ancestors of the Golden Crow followed the demon clan into the East Empire realm, but they did not settle in the three-legged mountains, but lived on the Fuzang sacred tree in the East China Sea. As for why they were exiled here now, that is another long story. The location of the Fuzang sacred tree overseas was once a top secret, and now it has been completely lost. What's more troublesome is that now Dongzhou and Donghai are both the territory of the Qinglun clan, and the relationship between the Feather clan and the Scale clan is not harmonious. It is impossible for Qinglun to allow the Jinwu tribe to stay in the East China Sea, so it is impossible to go out to sea to search for Fuzang. However, there is an unconfirmed rumor in the tribe that there is a teleportation aid to the Fuzang sacred tree deep in the Yuan cave where the tribe dumps garbage. The previous Jinwu priest secretly took away the tribe's treasured Jinwu divine fire fan and tried to find the array in the Yuan cave. As a result, he disappeared completely in the cave and there was no news of him. Today, the Jinwu tribe is almost divided into two factions. One faction supports continuing to search for the legendary array, and the other faction advocates that it is just a fictitious legend, and if the news spreads to the outside, it is likely to bring disaster to the tribe. Only the matter of retrieving the Jinwu true fire fan has been recognized by both factions. The Yuan True Gang is extremely fierce. Once it explodes in the cave, even the Jingle tribe who can resist fire will most likely die. If there is a Jingle True Fire Fan to protect the body, the probability of survival can be greatly improved, but every time the fire element bursts out, it will cause the route in the cave to change. In addition, the Jingle True Fire Fan is used to resist the fire element, which consumes too much true essence. Therefore, if you are trapped in it for too long, you will still die. It has been 8 months since outsiders were allowed to enter the cave to look for the Jingle True Fire Fan. Until now, no one has come out alive, which has led to the tribe strictly prohibiting tribe members from going down the cave privately. Today, everyone no longer has any more thoughts, but when they meet outsiders looking for work, they will mention the matter of entering the cave to explore. As for whether the other party is willing to go, and whether they can return alive after going, no one has too much expectation. After the sacrificial ceremony, it is the banquet session of eating and drinking. The elders took their seeds, and the red fruit that Jin likes to eat was served one by one. Everyone was toasting, eating, drinking and laughing, and the atmosphere eased. Suddenly there was a loud noise, and the Golden Crow priest stood up suddenly. His expression was incredibly shocked. He noticed that violent spiritual power burst under his feet. Then, the earthquake caused by the spiritual power burst also made the tables and chairs around him shake violently. Back in the Fire Yuan cave half a quarter of an hour ago, Long had asked Long to control the Golden Crow True Fire Fan to burn the entire rock wall behind him. Only a lonely arch was left. The material of the arch was exactly the same as the surrounding rocks, almost seamlessly, and there was no spiritual power left. Even the previous scan of the Kunlun mirror did not detect anything unusual. It was all thanks to the fan that my fox had brought to my mind. Good guy, I would like to call you the Iron Fan Princess in the future. Why don't you praise me? As if she noticed that he was thinking about something messy, Long immediately bared his teeth and said fiercely. You did a great job. Long reached through her armpit and lifted her up high. Oh. Let go, put me down. Long seemed to feel too ashamed to do this, so she struggled violently. Unable to struggle, she pulled out her fluffy big tail from under her skirt and hit him in the face. Long excitedly put her down, and then began to study the arch. I found it. Kumlinjing said in surprise, there is nothing wrong with the material of this arch, but there should be a magic array underneath, and the arch is the core consolidated by the array. I see. Long immediately said proudly, this mistake is too wrong, Jing. If I hadn't discovered it by chance and made up for your mistake, we would have missed this relic. It was me who didn't check it carefully. Kumlinjing whispered, but it wasn't you who discovered this arch, you still dare to quibble? You broken mirror. Kumlinjing sank into the sea of consciousness and stopped talking. Long pulled out the dragon raw sword and cleaned the ground carefully, revealing the hidden array pattern. Modern formations are also called yang formations, that is, they use some materials to draw raised formation patterns on the surface of the base, which makes it easier to detect and repair. But ancient formations often use yin formations, that is, they directly carve concave patterns on the surface of the base, making the formation and the base almost integrated, difficult to identify, but almost impossible to maintain. Seeing the formation patterns on the ground, the little fox was also very excited, circling around Long, waving his big tail like a broom. Long, how did you find it, huh? How did you find it? Humph. Long laughed proudly, if you don't have these 1 or 2 tricks, how can you be the master? The dragon fox curled his lips and thought, you still want to be my master? Dream on. After cleaning up all the formations, Long carefully observed for a moment and soon determined the mechanism of the formation activation. Supplies and keys are needed. His mind turned slightly and he immediately guessed the answer. He took out a piece of 9 crow blazing sunstone and placed it on the left side of the formation. He took the Golden Crow True Fire Fan from the little fox and placed it on the right side of the formation. Finally, he injected his true essence into the Golden Crow True Fire Fan. As the formation was suddenly charged, a huge spiritual power burst out from the archway. Long quickly grabbed the little fox's hand, picked up the Golden Crow True Fire Fan from the ground, and rushed towards the archway in the center of the formation. The two of them quickly passed through the archway, and with another wave of spiritual power explosion, they soon disappeared from their original place. However, the spread of spiritual power continued, and the entire cave began to shake, tremble, and shudder violently. Not long after, the fire essence in the deep underground erupted and completely submerged the cave. Above the distant East China Sea, Long and Long Hu fell from the treetops. Long Long first stabilized his body in the air with his sword in time, and then quickly dived down and caught the screaming little fox. Where is this? As soon as Dragon Fox landed on the ground, she couldn't wait to turn around and look around. Then, the boundless and magnificent sea came into her sight. Chapter 362. The Fox and I on a Deserted Island. The sea. The sea again. Long Long had no feeling for the sea, because Luoyang had been in the East China Sea in another world for too long. However, this was probably the first time the little fox had seen the ocean, so that until dusk, she was still excitedly running around the beach barefoot. Long Long flew around a giant tree several times with his sword, and explored the surrounding environment completely. There were no monsters worth noting. Yes, there was only this giant tree, and there were no monsters on the island. The strange thing was that from the branches to the top of the tree canopy, there were artificial buildings of the same style everywhere, and it was obvious that there had been a sect stationed here. Or in other words, the tribe of the monster clan. In connection with the ambiguous attitude of the Jinwu clan, he probably guessed the vague answer. The Dragon Fox exclaimed from below, and Long Long immediately lowered the sword light, and saw the Dragon Fox on the beach caught off guard, knocked down by the rising tide, and then rolled back into the sea. Long Long, save me! The little fox screamed. Long Long slowly flew his sword and saw the Dragon Fox sinking in the sea with its fangs and claws bared, and then quietly floated up. Why didn't you save me? The Dragon Fox suddenly raised its head out of the sea and shouted at Long Long in anger. She had just swallowed several mouthfuls of seawater, which was bitter and salty. If a cultivator can still be drowned by water, it is recommended to give up cultivation as soon as possible. Long Long said with a smile. I don't care. The Dragon Fox was speaking aggrievedly, and suddenly his expression changed, and he said anxiously, Long Long, it seems that something is pulling my tail below. Long Long, what kind of obscene sea beast? Damn it, my little fox's tail, only I can touch it. He quickly pressed down the sword light, approached the sea surface, and swept his consciousness to the bottom of the water below the Dragon Fox. As a result, the Dragon Fox suddenly reached out and grabbed Long Long, who was standing on the flying sword, and pulled him into the water. Long Long suddenly fell into the sea, and he couldn't react. He was fooled by this fox. The Dragon Fox was still playing a prank, wrapping its tail around Long Long's waist and dragging him down, shouting, I told you to say I was drowned. I told you to say I was drowned. Before he finished speaking, he felt his tail suddenly loosen and rolled into nothingness. Long Long had already released the secret technique of transforming, revealing his true body as thin and long as a water viper. He just swung his tail flexibly and broke free from the Dragon Fox's entanglement. Before the Dragon Fox could react, her thin waist was strangled by Long Long's tail, and then she was dragged into the sea. After an unknown amount of time, she finally surfaced, with a bitter expression, spitting out several mouthfuls of seawater. You are the only one who has a tail. Long Long floated up from her side, raised his head, swallowed his snake tongue, and said proudly. Then he was caught by the angry little fox and swung back and forth. The two played in the sea for a long time, and unknowingly turned it into a fishing competition, to see who caught more fish. Soon there were two piles of fish on the beach. The sun had sunk below the sea level in the west, the sky gradually went out, and the whole world fell into a faint silence. Long Long lit a bonfire on the beach and began to grill fish leisurely. The little fox was going to go into the bushes to change her wet clothes. Don't peek, she said solemnly. No, Long Long replied casually. Really don't peek, Long Long emphasized again, or I'll dig your eyes out. If you're so worried, I suggest you turn into a fox before changing clothes, Long Long suggested. Long thought about it carefully, and it was right. Anyway, when you turned into a fox, you were not wearing clothes, and he saw everything naked. Bullshit. The fur of this fox and the naked body of a human can be the same. Anyway, you were not allowed to peek. Long finally said, and hurriedly got into the bushes. Long Long was grilling fish boredly, and had no desire to peek over. What a joke. I'm a gentleman, why would I do such a vulgar thing? He methodically coated all the remaining unroasted fish with spices and marinated them. The little fox screamed again in the bushes. This time, Long Long did not rush to check. Of course, he would not be fooled twice in the same place. Wait, this time it can't be true, right? Long Long quickly climbed up from the beach, drew out the dragon raw sword, and rushed behind the bushes. In the corner, the Dragon Fox in the form of a girl was covering her body in panic, pointing at a caterpillar on the ground and screaming. Caterpillar, Long Long was immediately at a loss for words. He casually picked up the caterpillar with a sword and said, Dragon Fox, are you okay? Before he finished speaking, he was hit in the face by a branch thrown by the ashamed Dragon Fox. Go away. Go away. Don't look. Perverted snake. So I'm not a snake, I'm a dragon. Resisting the urge to complain, Long Long also forgave her for repaying kindness with enmity, and just turned around and left in style. After a while, Long, who had changed her clothes, came out with a little shyness. She still maintained her pretty girlish appearance at this time, but changed into a light yellow dress, and her hair was simply tied into two buns at the back of her head. Long Long always felt that this hairstyle was to make it easier to hide the two animal ears in the buns. Long Yu put her hands on her hips and glared at him angrily, as if she was about to explode, but her small nose twitched again for a moment. It smells so good. She ran to the campfire, looked at the branches inserted into the ground and fixed with stones to roast fish, and kept shouting, "Hey, Long Long, is it done? Can we eat it?" "Not yet," Long Long said slowly, "unless you want to eat raw fish." Long Yu smacked her lips, then sat down beside him, hugged her knees with her hands, rested her chin on her arms, and the two buns on her head trembled slightly. Long Long added firewood to the bonfire, and noticed from the corner of his eye that the two balls moved. As expected, the animal ears were hidden in the buns. "Is it ready?" Long Yu watched again. "Not yet." Long Long took out a date from the side. "If you're hungry, eat this first." "What is this?" Long wiped it with her sleeve, put it in her mouth and took a bite. "Wow, so sour." She spit out the half-eaten date in her mouth, put it in her palm and looked at it carefully. "What kind of fruit is this? Can I eat it?" "I don't know." Long Long stared at her face carefully, and after confirming that there was no sign of poisoning, he said leisurely, "It looks like there is no toxin. It should be edible." The little fox clenched her hand expressionlessly, and then squeezed the date in her palm to pieces. "Long Long." She smiled sweetly, "Is the grilled fish almost ready?" "It's almost ready." Long Long moved the branch with the grilled fish. "Wait a little longer and you can eat it. Then there's no need to keep you." Long Yu suddenly pounced from behind, hugged Long Long's neck, and tried to bite his ear. Long Long was so frightened that he quickly turned his head. It seemed that something soft had been rubbed on his mouth, with a little fragrant warmth. When he came to his senses, the two were already sitting by the campfire, carefully picking at the burnt skin on the grilled fish. "The burnt part doesn't taste good, I'll help you remove it," Long Long said. "Okay," Long Yu said softly. She lowered her head, her face was a little red, with a kind of youthful shyness. Long Long's heartbeat also accelerated, but he was not a novice after all. He just turned his mind slightly, and suppressed all his fantasies, and carefully tore off all the burnt skin on the grilled fish for Long Yu. Chapter 363. Tall, handsome, and all-knowing. After eating the grilled fish, Long Long suggested exploring the island. Of course, in fact, as early as when the little fox was playing in the water at the beach, he had already explored the giant tree and made sure that there was no danger inside. In this way, he could rest assured to teach Long Yu how to explore the ruins. "When we come to a strange place, the first thing we have to do is to stay alert," Long Long taught her patiently, "because there may be hidden dangers everywhere. For example, hidden enemies, evil spirits, traps. You never know what is waiting for you in the unknown. Do you remember the observation method I taught you? Your sight, peripheral vision and spiritual consciousness all need to be always aware of the 6 directions and listen to all directions so as not to miss any disturbances around you." "I know," Long Yu said eagerly. The two came to the roots of the giant fusan tree, and heard Long Long say again, "In addition to vigilance, sobriety and rationality are also very important. Look up and see what that is." Long raised his head obediently, looked at the wooden house that was faintly visible on the tree branch, and said, "Is that a building? Someone used to live here?" "Yes," Long Long said, "and from the number of buildings, you can estimate the population that once lived here, and their social organization form." "What is a social organization form?" the little fox asked curiously. "It is the relationship between individual members," Long Long explained simply. "For example, if 3 or 4 people act together, it may be a temporary team. But if there are 300 or 400 people acting together, they are most likely from the same family, sect or alliance." "I see." Long Yu looked up carefully and said, "Then there should have been a family here. Why not a sect?" Long Long deliberately tested her. "Because if it is a sect, the name of the sect will be placed in the most conspicuous place." Long Hu tried to analyze and said, the sect needs to absorb new members from the outside world, so it will pay attention to majesty and reputation, but the family will not accept outsiders to join, so it will be relatively low-key, right? Almost. Long pointed to the surroundings and continued to ask, since you think there was a demon tribe living here, what kind of demon tribe was it? It should be the Feather tribe. Long Hu observed carefully for a moment and replied, there is no walking path from the bottom of the giant tree to the top. Considering that there must be low-level members in the family who have not yet developed their spiritual intelligence and cannot fly swords, then such an environmental design can only mean that this race can fly since birth and does not need to rely on any external objects, that is, the Feather tribe. That's right. Long was very satisfied with her intelligence. I suspect this was once the base of the Jinwu tribe. Jinwu tribe? Long Hu remembered that the reason the two came here was because they triggered the formation deep in the Yuan cave. The necessary items to drive the formation, the 9-crow blazing sunstone and the golden crow true fire fan, are obviously inseparable from the golden crow clan. If we know it's the golden crow clan, we can take targeted precautions. Long continued to persuade, saying, for example, the 5 elements of the golden crow clan are fire. Then if you haven't come here yet, you can prepare some magic weapons to resist the fire system in advance. I see. Long Yu suddenly said, by the way, my flying sword Firefox chant is also of the fire system. If it's both of the fire system, then the spoils are more likely to be compatible. Long patiently taught her, for example, the probability of finding fire flying swords, magic weapons, and elixirs here is greater than in other places. The two chatted and laughed while flying their flying swords and flew over the trees. Wow, Long exclaimed in surprise, this tree is so big. This is the sacred Fusam tree. Long said with his hands behind his back, it is so isolated overseas, so high in the sky. I didn't expect to see it here. How did you know? The little fox asked with half surprise and half admiration. Of course, Long was suddenly a little stuck. Of course, he came to this conclusion based on the knowledge of Luoyan and others, as well as some clues obtained from the previous exploration of this place. If it was Yu Yin Luoyan or Xie Luli, this would be a huge flaw, which would definitely arouse their suspicion. But the little fox, just fool around. Of course, you won't understand even if I tell you. Long arrogantly shook his bangs and said calmly. Long puffed up her cheeks, but she also knew that no matter how much she asked, Long would not tell her, and might even laugh at her for being ignorant, so she could only hold back her anger and grind her teeth secretly. The two passed through layers of treetops and soon came to the largest building. This building is more than 10 feet high and 6 feet wide. It is majestic and spectacular. The back half is embedded in the Fusang sacred tree, and the front half protrudes outside. There are reliefs of various patterns engraved on it. Long looked closely and saw divine birds with gorgeous feathers, ferocious and terrifying divine dragons, and endless flames and tides, which are eroding, wrestling and confronting each other. This should be the meeting hall. Long said, whether it is a family or a sect, there will basically be such a place for sacrificial ceremonies, receiving foreign guests or organizing gatherings. Of course, it is unlikely that there will be any treasures in it. The two walked into the main hall. As Long said, the interior of the family meeting hall was magnificent, but it was empty. Generally speaking, the building we are looking for is the treasure room. Long continued, the treasure room is where the materials for the whole clan's cultivation are stored, and it is also the most worthwhile place to explore. If the original demon clan here abandoned this place in a hurry, then the probability of there being high-value treasures in the treasure room would be very high. But if they evacuated in an orderly manner, then it is unlikely that there would be good things in the treasure room. Even more extreme, there is a possibility that it is empty. Of course, if there are high-value treasures, there will often be traps outside to guard them. On the contrary, if the road is unobstructed, then there is a high probability that it is empty. Like this? Long asked. Yes, that's it. Long replied. The two stood at the door of the treasure room and saw rows of shelves inside, all empty. This was of course not surprising, because Long had already explored this place in advance to ensure that there was nothing left. After all, if there were really any dangerous magic weapons, the little fox was inexperienced and couldn't control herself after seeing them. Seeing that there was nothing inside, Long was obviously frustrated, and the fox ears in her bun drooped. It's boring, she said unhappily, taking out the golden crow true fire fan. Can't there be a hidden secret room? Like the archway in the Yuan cave before, hidden in the rock wall, it must be opened by special means. Of course not. Long Long smiled and comforted her. How can there be a secret room that can be opened by the golden crowtrue fire fan? Before he finished speaking, the 3 immortal seals on the handle of the golden crowtrue fire fan in the little fox's hand suddenly lit up. At the same time, the wall opposite the gate of the treasure room also quickly became translucent, and then disappeared quickly, revealing the hidden secret room inside. Long Long. How is it? Long Hu smiled proudly and playfully, tilting his head to look at Long Long as if showing off. Long Long was silent for a long time, and finally realized the problem here. This golden crowtrue fire fan is obviously a very valuable thing passed down from generation to generation in the Golden Crow clan. It may be a symbol of power inheritance for successive clan leaders. Therefore, the previous formation for long-distance transmission between the 2 places used the golden crowtrue fire fan as the key, which means that only the clan leader can open the formation. Then, the secret treasure house in the family can only be opened by the clan leader who holds this fan. Isn't this natural? After figuring out the key, Long Long sighed in disappointment in his heart and said, Jin, you and I also checked this place in advance. It would be fine if I didn't find it, but why didn't you find it? Wow, you can blame me for this. Kumlin Jing said indignantly, you didn't ask me to scan here, how could I know there is a hidden secret room inside? You still dare to quibble, you broken mirror. Isn't it your job to check for omissions and fill in the gaps? Long Long shamelessly argued, now I'm embarrassed in front of the little fox, you tell me what to do. Can't you be more sincere and less calculating to her? Kumlin Jing said in a complicated tone, the personality is not invincible, why do you have to cling to these illusory faces? You don't understand, Jing. Long Long said with great sorrow, my persistent personality is to persist in establishing a tall, handsome and omniscient image in front of Long Hu. Only when she worships and obeys me wholeheartedly, can I do whatever I want to her, and finally have the opportunity to covet the fragments of the booty and stone she wears. I think the image of you in her heart has never been established from the beginning. Chapter 364. Fuzang Sacred Tree, Hidden Chamber. Long Hu, you have to be careful. Facing the excited little fox, Long Long said seriously, don't forget what I said before, a treasure chamber like this may have some trap mechanism for guarding and defending. But, Long Hu asked puzzledly, since the chamber can only be opened by the golden crowtrue fire fan, what's the point of setting up a defensive mechanism inside? Long Long, you just said that the golden crowtrue fire fan may be something passed down from generation to generation by the clan leader. If a strong enemy can seize this thing from the clan leader, then what kind of defensive mechanism would the clan leader set up here, and how could he trap such a strong enemy? Long Long was slightly stuck for a moment, and soon used the flexible thinking cultivated by years of dealing with the Kumlin mirror, and said very wittily, it's great that you can think of this. However, in addition to the clan leader, the demon clan may also have higher level cultivators such as the Supreme Elder and the Ancestor. The clan leader is responsible for controlling the power of the entire clan, and the Ancestor represents the highest strength of the entire clan. If there is a strong enemy who takes the golden crowtrue fire fan from the clan leader, then it is quite reasonable for the more powerful ancestors to set up restrictions here. Indeed. Long Hu nodded thoughtfully, but if such a powerful demon clan ancestor sets up restrictions here, we basically can't find it, right? Even if we find it, it is impossible to deal with it, right? Enough, Long Hu. Long Long was almost speechless and could only say arrogantly, I just said that you can't ignore such a possibility, which does not mean that it will definitely happen or not. You just need to listen to the elder's experience with an open mind. Long Hu wanted to say something, but Long Long pulled her over, reached into her skirt, pulled out her fluffy tail, and smoothed her hair a few times. She collapsed in Long Long's arms angrily and couldn't speak. The two of them were affectionate with each other for a moment. Long Long learned his lesson this time and said to Wei Jing, Jin, scan it. There are no traps or restrictions. Kumlin Jing replied. Well, I've confirmed it. Long Long said with a smile, there is no trap mechanism here. I told you so long ago. Long Yu muttered softly, and rushed in impatiently. This hidden room was not big. Looking around, there were only 3 items in it. A wooden barrel on the left, an oil lamp on the right, and a bamboo scroll in front. Apart from that, there was nothing else, not even any explanatory text. Long Yu first went to the right to get the oil lamp. The outer shell of the oil lamp was made of sandalwood, with a translucent lens made of glass embedded in it. There was a candle flame inside, which neither jumped nor swayed in the oil lamp, but just burned steadily. That is. Long Long suddenly frowned and asked in his heart, Jin, Kingpin, that can't be a Buddhist, Eastern light pure glass lamp. Kung Linjing said in surprise, this treasure is the Buddha treasure of the Eastern Buddhist medicine master Lily Light Tatagator. It is said that there is a little glass fire in it, which can emit endless light. It can not only revive the dead, flesh bones, eliminate evil and suffering, but also overcome evil and eliminate evil, and remove karma. But how could it be in the secret room of this Fusang sacred tree? Long picked up the lamp pole in his hand and shook it gently. The oil lamp swayed like a pendulum, but the flame inside was still burning steadily, reflecting colorful light through the gorgeous glass pieces. It was obvious that he couldn't let it go. Long thought about it for a moment and was relieved. If this thing appeared in the main world, once it was exposed, it would definitely cause a strong shock to the Buddhist sect. For example, if a Taoist treasure like the Chifengguan sword were to be possessed by a Buddhist temple, it would certainly bring endless troubles. But this is the demon world, should it be okay? Long turned his head and looked at the wooden barrel on the left. The wooden barrel was not big, about the length of an adult's palm. The wood seemed to be willow, but it was obvious that it was definitely not an ordinary willow. On the surface of the wooden barrel, various crows and flame patterns were engraved. Ah, this is the flying fire crow tube. Kingpin Jian suddenly said, it is said that there are the remains of a great man from the Jinwu clan inside, with a total of 360 joints. As long as you use your true energy to activate it, you can release 360 fire crows from the tube, with wings connected to black clouds and voices like poisonous thunder. It is a very lethal magic weapon. I see. Long put the fire crow tube into the storage bag, and went to get Longyu's glass lamp. Good boy, Longyu, you can't take care of this magic weapon, so I'll keep it for you. The little fox was so anxious that he bared his teeth and jumped up and down, but whether he grabbed his arm or hit his face with his tail, it didn't work. Long just smiled and took the glass lamp away without question, like a parent confiscating New Year's money, and put it solemnly into the storage bag. So Longyu could only turn around in frustration and check the last thing left in the secret room. She picked up the bamboo slip from the stand, unfolded it and scanned it for a moment, then threw it back on the stand, saying boredly, "It's history." Long picked it up and saw that it was indeed just the family history of the Jinwu clan. For the demon clan built on blood relations, the documents describing the development history of their own family can undoubtedly help shape the cohesion of the family. It is an extremely important object, so it is not surprising that it is placed in this hidden secret room. But for Long and Longyu, it is of no great use. Long took a rough look and knew that when the Jinwu clan fled to the East Empire realm, they only brought a sapling of Fusang wood. They established a secret realm deep in the East China Sea and planted Fusang wood in this secret realm, so there was an isolated island with giant trees growing today. Then the Jinwu clan multiplied and grew on the Fusang wood, and there were no major events worth noting. At the end of the bamboo slip, it was mentioned that the power map of the East Empire realm was basically finalized. Dongzhou and Donghai were occupied by the Scale clan, and the Feather clan basically moved to Nanzhou. The Jinwu clan held a meeting to discuss whether to move the clan to Nanzhou. Otherwise, once the Scale clan discovered this secret realm and invaded, the Feather clan in Nanzhou would not be able to rescue them in time. The narration stopped here. Long combined the current situation of the Eastern Empire realm and knew that the Jinwu clan did move to Nanzhou later, or at least one branch took root in the Sanzhou Mountains at the junction of Nanzhou and Thongzhou. As for whether it was an active and orderly migration, or a passive and urgent escape because the secret realm was invaded by foreign enemies, the treasure room outside was plundered, but the hidden secret room inside was not touched. Long was more inclined to the latter. Just thinking about it this way, there was another strange thing. Now the power distribution in the Eastern Empire realm is quite clear. The Feather clan is in the south, the Kung clan is in the north, the Hair clan is in the west, the Scale clan is in the east, and the Horn clan is in the middle. And the relationship between the different clans is definitely not very harmonious, not to say that there is a deep hatred. From the xenophobic atmosphere of the Feather clan and the historical records of the Golden Crow clan, it can be seen that racial conflict is almost the main theme of the Eastern Empire realm. So here comes the question. The Beiming Fanyan that the little fox and I are going to is also the ancestral home of the Jialong clan. Since the Golden Crow clan was forced by the Scale clan to abandon the Fusang sacred tree, can the Jialong clan really survive intact in the North Sea controlled by the Kung clan? Thinking of the two parents who entrusted him, whether it is Yinlong in the Locking Demon Tower or the mother fox Xinyan deep underground in Nanzhou, they are all figures from at least 100,000 years ago. Long has an inexplicable, strong anxiety and worry. This beiming fanning secret realm of the Jialong clan, could it be that it no longer exists? Chapter 365. The secret realm must have its exit. A month later, the little fox swung the lantern, and countless glass lights were released from it, rushing towards the distant sea like a pearl curtain rolling back. The attack is too obvious. Long instructed, try to hide the lantern to your side, and don't shake it deliberately when urging it, just swing it slightly. But Long hesitated for a while before saying, "It looks good when it is swinging. Is it to see if you look good when I fight with you?" Long said expressionlessly, "I'm here to kill you." The frightened Long whimpered several times and couldn't speak. "Try again," Long said indifferently. Long's experience in fighting is undoubtedly at the bottom among the female friends Long knows. Not to mention senior sister Anne, who is experienced in fighting, the scheming witch Jiang, not to mention the diligent sisters Yu, even Mishi can use magic weapons to hit people, and she is very skilled. Only the little fox is still stupidly stuck in the realm of being handsome and looking good, and when he activates the magic weapon, he wishes that all the cultivators within a radius of hundreds of miles can see the light and shadow. Train. Must train well. Of course, another reason is that there is nothing else to do here except training the dragon fox. As the documents obtained in the secret room said, the place where the Fuzang sacred tree is located is actually a secret realm. The so-called secret realm is a place that is independent of the outside world in space and can only be entered and exited through special passages. Unfortunately, the teleportation formation that previously teleported the two from the fire realm and cave to this place does not have a way to open it back. Of course, even if it is a two-way passage, Long cannot return the same way. The noise made when the formation was activated made Long seriously suspect that once he appeared in front of the Jinwu clan again, he would most likely receive an extremely grand and warm welcome. Therefore, it is necessary to find other passages that can be used to exit the Fuzang secret realm. Long has taken Dragon Fox to explore the edge of the secret realm. This secret realm looks like an isolated island in the sea, but in fact, both the sea and the sky have transparent, impenetrable boundaries. And there is no obvious exit. Long thought of a very bad possibility, that is, perhaps the Jinwu clan was invaded by foreign enemies, so they had to completely close the Fuzang secret realm, isolate the inside and the outside, and then teleport all members away through the formation to avoid being trapped to death in this secret realm. This also explains why that teleportation formation and arch in the depths of Yuan Cave are not only abandoned, but also buried deep in the rock formation of Yuan Cave. It shows that the ancestors of the Jinwu clan did not intend to let the descendants open this secret realm. In this way, the situation of the two is extremely bad, because there is probably no way out of the Fuzang secret realm. However, after careful consideration, Long thought that this possibility is not great. Because through the records in the literature, it can be seen that the Fuzang Shenmue secret realm, as the ancestral holy land of the Jinwu clan, has a very lofty status. Long didn't think that these crows would be willing to completely close the secret realm. They must have left a way to enter and exit freely. Therefore, he concentrated on training Longhu during the day and cultivating her fighting ability, and took Longhu around at night to look for any suspicious clues around the secret realm. Long, I feel that the exit is unlikely to be in the air. After the two finished their training and fighting, they circled around the edge of the sky for several weeks on their swords, and Longhu finally spoke out. "If I were the Feathered Clan, I would definitely set the exit in the sky with a wide field of vision." Long said in a deep voice, "In this way, we can discover the invading enemy at the first time, and it is also convenient to organize manpower to fight back." But Longhu retorted, "We have been looking around the sky for a long time. If the exit of the secret realm is set here, it is impossible that there is no sign at all. How about you use the golden crowroot fire to fan it out and fan it again?" Long suddenly said. Long, how could the entrance and exit of the secret realm be controlled by the golden crowroot fire fan? Long argued seriously, "Otherwise, every time a member of the Golden Crow tribe wants to go out, he has to report to the tribe leader first and ask for the Golden Crowroot fire fan to open the exit of the secret realm. How troublesome that would be." "What you said makes a little bit of sense." Long thought carefully for a moment, then nodded and said, "Then where do you think the exit might be?" "First, under the sea." Long said in a childish tone. "Second, under the Fuzang sacred tree." "Oh, why?" Long finally became interested. "If it is on the seabed, it may be connected to the seabed outside." Dragon Fox analyzed, and the visibility on the seabed is relatively low. Compared with the sky, the entrance to the secret realm is easier to hide. But you forgot one thing. Long Long added, the scales of the East China Sea, especially the Azure Dragon clan, are all used to living in the water. If the entrance to the secret realm is on the seabed instead of in the sky, the possibility of being found by the Dragon clan is greatly increased. He led Dragon Fox to suppress the sword light again, descended to the roots of the Fusang sacred tree, pretended to explore, but said in his heart, Jin, help me scan the deep underground to see if there are any hidden secret rooms that I haven't visited. Okay. Kunlun Mirror agreed. After about an hour, Long Long and Dragon Fox were tired of searching, so they caught a few wheels in the nearby sea. After Long Long cleaned it, he put it on the stone slab and roasted it. Found it. Kunlun Mirror suddenly said, there is indeed a secret room about 120 feet deep underground, and there are hidden spatial fluctuations inside. Very good. Long Long was immediately excited, you are worthy at being my Jing. That secret room, how to get in? I have seen it, there is only a long and narrow vertical passage leading to that place. Its entrance is just above the tree canopy. Just above. Long Long thought for a moment, then stood up, let's go, Dragon Fox. Ah? The little fox was staring at the eel on the stone slab and drooling. Hearing this, she immediately raised her head, but the eel is not well yet, let's go. Long Long did not say anything, and directly flew up the dragon raw sword, engulfing her in the sword light. Woo woo woo, my eel, Dragon Fox could not resist at all, and could only shed tears on the fairy sword. She was dragged by Long Long to fly high into the sky and came to the top of the Fusang sacred tree. This is where the sacred tree grows most luxuriantly. Looking around, there are almost no buildings to be seen, all tense leaves and branches. Long Long tried to cut with his flying sword, but found that he couldn't split the branches. The wood of the Fusang sacred tree was indeed very hard. Following the guidance of the Kunlun Mirror, he led the Dragon Fox to circle around in the canopy. Many places were even completely blocked by the branches, leaving only a gap that a bird could pass through. The two had to transform back into the original form of the water snake and the fox, and then barely got through the gap. Long Long was naturally no problem as a snake, and although the Dragon Fox was larger, its body was extremely soft, almost like a fluid, so it was no problem to get through the gap. If it were any of the Horn clan here, they would probably be trapped to death in the secret realm. After passing through the heavy leaves, the two finally arrived at a slightly larger branch, and saw an 8-foot-high tree hole on the trunk of the Fusang sacred tree. Looking down from the edge of the tree hole, I saw a small staircase like a branch spiraling down, leading to the deep darkness. Chapter 366. Leaving the secret realm and entering the dragon pond. In the darkness, a colorful light flashed. Long Hu activated the glass lamp, and the candlelight inside the lamp emitted a steady light, illuminating the surrounding environment. At this time, the two were inside the Fusang sacred tree, and under their feet was a wooden staircase that spiraled down and extended into the invisible darkness. Strange. Long Hu asked in confusion, there is no light in here, why don't they install lighting? Because the golden crow itself does not need lighting. Long Long took out the fire crow tube and gently tapped the bottom of the tube. Several fire crows flew out of it, swooping down from the center of the spiral staircase, illuminating the stairs one after another. It was all spiral stairs, and there was no door leading to other places. Long Long, I'm a little scared. Long Hu impotent couldn't help hugging Long Long's arm. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Long Long patted her shoulder, and suddenly felt a soft touch on her calf. Looking down, she found that the little fox's tail stretched out and was tightly wrapped around her ankle. Good fellow, when a girl is scared, she hugs her lover's arm, but you not only hug my arm, but also wrap your tail around it. You might as well just hang up, I don't mind. Dragon Fox didn't know what Long Long was thinking at this moment, she just looked at the bottomless depths below, as if her legs were weak, and she could only stick her body to Long Long. Long Long, aren't you scared? She asked tremblingly. What's there to be afraid of? Long Long hugged her and walked down. That's it, Dragon Fox tried to organize her words. What if there is a monster hidden in the darkness, what should I do? If there is a monster hidden, how could it be hidden from my Jin scan? Long Long naturally couldn't explain this to her, so he smiled and said, if there is a monster, you can hide behind meantime. Yeah. Dragon Fox nodded vigorously. The two continued to move forward for a distance. Dragon Fox hugged Long Long's arm, wrapped his tail around his legs, and seemed to slowly calm down. Long Long. She whispered, it's so nice to have you by my side. Long Long. This little fox, she's so good at teasing men at such a young age, what will she be like when she grows up? He touched the little head of the dragon fox, and the dragon fox was slightly startled, then stretched out its head to rub his palm. Not long after, the dragon fox suddenly screamed, "Long Long!" She said in panic, "Is that a skeleton?" Long Long followed her gaze and saw a skeleton lying on the stairs. The human-like skeleton indicated that the deceased had completely transformed before his death. The slight bulges on both sides of the forehead were typical characteristics of the dragon clan. This was a dead dragon clan, and it was killed in the transformed state. Because of the long time interval, the cause of death could no longer be seen. Long Long picked up the little fox, stepped over the skeleton and walked down, but saw more skeletons. There were dragon clans with bulges on their foreheads, and further clans with extended arm bones. Obviously, there had been fierce battles and massacres here. Seeing the number of corpses and debris, Long Long couldn't help but sigh. In the world of cultivation, such large-scale wars rarely occur, and more often there are fights between teams of several people. After all, if hundreds of people die in a war, even the demons who recruit disciples cannot bear it. Compared with the smaller but more united human race, the demon race has more cultivators, but it is like a bloated and frivolous fat man. The 5 major races of horns, scales, insects, feathers, and furs are hostile to each other, and the major races are not united. No wonder they were driven to the East Empire realm by humans. Carefully passing through a large amount of debris, Long Long pulled Long to continue moving forward and finally reached the bottom of the passage. It was almost a cemetery here. A large number of bones were scattered in the corners of the room, and there were dry dark red marks on the floor. The archway that was exactly the same as the one deep in the fire element cave was standing quietly in the center of the room. "Is this the exit to the outer boundary of the secret realm?" Long murmured. "Almost," Long Long replied, and took the 9 crows blazing sunstone and the golden crowtrue fire fan, ready to activate the magic circle. "Wait, Long Long." Long's pretty face showed a worried look, and asked anxiously, "What if this formation teleports us to a strange place again?" "No way." Long Long simply replied, "This is the so-called one-way street of life. Even if the front is unknown, we have no way out, so we can only bite the bullet and move forward." Long was speechless. Indeed, if the formation is not activated, they can only be trapped here. The 2 of them have no other choice. Soon, Long Long restarted the formation according to the previous operation. Compared with the almost earthquake-like upheaval in the Fire Yuan cave, this time the magic circle was opened very quietly. The pattern on the floor lit up slightly, and the picture in the arch was slightly distorted, which was a signal that the space channel had been connected. "Let's go." Long Long took a deep breath and said. Even if there were any monsters on the opposite side, they could only raise their swords and go up. Just as he was about to step forward, the little fox grabbed his hand from the side, her face full of concern and worry. So Long Long smiled at her in a comforting way, and took Long into the teleportation gate together, letting her body be swallowed by the teleportation formation. "Long. Is it too late for us to retreat to the secret realm of the Fusang sacred tree now?" Long Long asked solemnly. "I'm afraid it's too late," Long said in a trembling voice. In front of the 2 people, whether in the air or in the sea, there were already a large number of huge blue dragons. A pair of huge golden vertical pupils stared at Long Long, and the overwhelming dragon power pressed towards the 2. Then nothing happened. The strength of the dragon power depends on the rank of the bloodliner, and the bloodliness of Long Long and Long Yu can be traced back to the immortal level Yin Long. Therefore, the dragon power released by the many blue dragons present fell on the 2 people, as if they were just being watched by everyone, and there was no reaction except for a little discomfort. Soon, the blue dragons also realized this. The hostile and vigilant gaze turned into a look of astonishment. "You," a transformed monk walked out from behind that blue dragon. He was wearing a green Taoist robe, with a slightly protruding forehead, and asked seriously, "Are you also a dragon?" "We're a dragon." Long Long's mind moved slightly, and he said quickly, "We all have the blood of the dragon clan." As soon as these words came out, the expressions of many blue dragons at the scene changed drastically. To be able to resist the dragon power of so many dragons, the other party's bloodliner must be ridiculously high, and it may even be at the level of the ancestors. However, among the descendants left by the ancestors of their blue dragon clan, there has never been such a pair of men and women. Could it be that the ancestor cheated in the past? Chapter 367. From today on, you're our dragon. Between the East China Sea and the Black Water, there is the Daguan Plain. The angry roar of the old dragon suddenly resounded throughout Jianmu, startling the young dragons in the stream and poking their heads out. "What?" I cheated. Old ancestor, keep your voice down. A Kandlong elder said hurriedly, family disgrace should not be made public. Get out, idiot. The old dragon's spit almost drowned him. Think carefully with your walnut-sized brain. I have been staying at the top of Jianmu for so many years. How can I have the time and experience to cheat and have children? The Kandlong elders looked at each other, and no one spoke. Although it is theoretically impossible, the power of the immortal level is so great that it is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Who knows, the old ancestor may have cultivated some kind of clone magic, avoiding the clan to go out to have fun and sow seeds, and accidentally harvested them. Look at the two children. The boy is a pure-blooded dragon, and the girl seems to have the blood of a sky fox. The old ancestor's sexual fetish is really wide-ranging. Of course, since the ancestor is unwilling to admit it, it is impossible for everyone to say that these two people are the ancestor's offspring. But the immortal bloodliner can't be fake, right? For the sake of the bloodliner, the clan will focus on taking care of them in the future, and there is nothing wrong with that, right? Ahem. Another old clan elder said, since they have nothing to do with the ancestor, the clan should first allow the two to become citizens. Bullshit. The old dragon said angrily, what citizenship? You still think they are my offspring, right? The Kandlong elders shook their heads and denied it. Since the ancestor wants to save face, everyone will not be so unlucky as to deny the ancestor face. As for the two illegitimate children, just raise them secretly. Don't think I didn't see it, you are still laughing. The old dragon was still roaring, there are not only Kandlongs in this world, but also Jialongs. They must be Jialong's offspring. The Jialong clan is trapped in the Beiming Fanning and can't get out at all. A Kandlong elder said. And the Jialong clan has long lost its immortal rank. Another elder said, of course, the clan doesn't care who their parents are, as long as they have the blood of the immortal dragon clan. Get out. The old dragon finally got angry and shouted loudly, get out. The Kandlong elders quickly left the top of Jianmu and returned to the clan meeting hall to start a heated discussion. Soon, everyone reached a consensus. It doesn't matter whether they are the descendants of the ancestor, as long as they have the blood of the dragon species. The Kandlong clan once had conflicts with the Jialong clan, but that was in the ancient times when the two clans coexisted in the East Empire realm. Now the Jialong clan has declined and was even trapped in the North Sea by Chuanwu. However, the Kandlong clan dominates Dongzhou and is the natural leader of the Ling clan, the orthodox royal family of the world's dragon clan. Naturally, they will not care about the past unpleasantness with distant brothers. Even if the blood of these two people comes from the Jialong, it is not a big problem. Since the rise of the Kandlong clan in Dongzhou, many messengers have been sent to let the major dragon clans in the Donghuang realm move to Dongzhou. As the saying goes, all rivers must return to the sea and all dragons in the world are one family. Most of the dragon populations are now united under the banner of the Kandlong clan. Unfortunately, only the Jialong clan in the North Sea has never given a reply. As for the two who suddenly appeared in the East China Sea, as long as they can be confirmed to have dragon blood, whether they are at the fairy level or not, the Kandlong clan will accept them. This is the tolerance of the dragon royal family. Soon, the results of the blood test of the two are sent to the hands of the Kandlong elders. Long, male, burning blood level, pure Yinglong blood. Long, female, burning blood level, has half Yinglong blood, a quarter of Tianhu blood, and a quarter of human blood. Such a result really shocked the eyes of the Kandlong elders. First of all, both of them are Yinglong blood, which means they start at the fairy level. This means that among their parents, there must be an immortal level individual of the Jialong clan, that is, the legendary Yinglong, who is on the same level as the Kandlong ancestor. Secondly, Longlong's family background is relatively normal. The pure Yinglong bloodliner means that one of the parents is Yinglong, and the other parent's bloodliner is of a lower level, resulting in its bloodliner being completely swallowed by the Yinglong bloodliner. But the dragon fox is much weirder. The Tianhu bloodliner is also a high-level bloodliner among the Fur clan, but it is much worse than the Yinglong bloodliner. In most cases, when the dragon clan and other demon clan individuals give birth to offspring, the bloodliners of other races are swallowed by the dragon clan bloodliner to complete the purification. In very few cases, they are fused and become a subspecies of the dragon clan. For example, the textual research of the Kandlong clan believes that the Jialong is actually the offspring of the fusion of the Kandlong and the Snape clan. But the coexistence of multiple bloodliners like the dragon fox is almost a rare case in 10,000 years. Not to mention that she actually has human blood. Where did the human race come from? The discussion in the meeting hall lasted from day to night, and the senior elders finally came to the conclusion. Long Long's bloodline is too excellent, so he should be cultivated as the fighting force of the tribe. Long Hu's bloodline is mixed. Half of her bloodline is Yin Long, which ensures that her lower limit of strength cannot be low, but the mixed blood of Tianhu and human race has lowered her upper limit, and this mixed bloodline is very unstable, which seems to have an impact on her lifespan. However, because the Tianhu bloodline in her body has not been swallowed, this makes her both a dragon and a fox. Such a unique individual can allow her to obtain the identities of both races at the same time in that Donghuan realm, which generally pays attention to bloodline race, thus becoming an excellent bridge for communication between the Kanglong and Tianhu races. In short, although Long Hu's upper limit of strength is not as good as Lenglong's, it has special political value. So of course, how to win the hearts of these two as soon as possible was quickly put on the table. During the discussion in the meeting hall, Lenglong and Long Hu had been sent to the island. The Kanglong clan's base is located on the largest island in the black waters of the East China Sea. The island is surrounded by mountains, and there is a large plain in the middle, which is called Dequan Wilderness. In the center of Dequan Wilderness, there stands a giant tree that is almost as tall as the sacred Fusam tree. The Kanglong clan calls it Jianmu. The Kanglong monks who have transformed live in the caves on Jianmu. The young dragons who have not yet transformed live on the plains near Jianmu, where there are many streams and rivers for nesting. Lenglong and Longhu, although they are individuals who have not transformed, are key seeds, so they were also arranged on Jianmu as an exception and allocated a cave. Long. The little fox said fearfully, "What are they going to do? Are they going to imprison us?" "It's possible." Seeing her frightened and pitiful appearance, Long pretended to be aggrieved and angry, and said, "Maybe they are attracted by our bloodline and want to lock us up here for forced breeding." Ah. Long's face immediately turned red, and he stammered and couldn't speak, which made Long a little puzzled. At this time, shouldn't you call me a pervert or something? Wait, do you really believe it? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 368. No one knows backing better than me. Although Long was there to make jokes and comfort her, the little fox was still worried for a long time. Until Long also began to mutter, "What exactly does the Kanglong clan want to do? Leaving the two of us here and not paying any attention, it can't be that they really want to breed." It was not until the top leaders of the Kanglong clan argued from day to night and finally made a decision that a pair of young Kanglong brothers and sisters came to visit. Both of them looked like young boys and girls in their teens and 16s. The brother was handsome and elegant, and the sister was pretty and lively. Judging from their words and deeds, they were from a noble family, casual but polite. "Sorry, I kept you waiting for a long time." The brother introduced first, "I am Qin Zhao." "I am Qin Yi." The sister added, "The elders asked us to receive you." Qin Zhao smiled and said, "If you have anything to ask in the future, just come to us directly." As usual, Long hid behind Long, timidly not daring to show his head. Long bowed openly and said, "I'm Long, she is Longhu, nice to meet you." "Are you two brother and sister?" Qin Yi asked curiously. "No." Long said with a smile. Seeing that he avoided answering, the brother and sister immediately understood and changed the topic smoothly. "We brothers and sisters didn't have any playmates in the tribe before. Now we are lucky to meet you too. We will have to interact more in the future." "No playmates?" Long showed a surprised expression. "I don't think you two are unwelcome in that tribe." "Yes," Qin Zhao said with a wry smile, "because even if we are both dragon species, there is a gap in bloodline rank. My brother and I are direct descendants of the ancestor." Compared with his relatively reserved brother, Qin Yi was not scheming at all and said frankly, "When other dragons see us, they always call us young master and young lady. You treat them as friends, but they treat you as their ancestors. It's impossible to get along with each other." After hearing what the two said, Long immediately understood. The cultivation of human cultivators emphasizes the foundation of cultivation. Only when the golden elixir is of high enough grade can a higher grade nascent soul be formed. Only when the nascent soul is of high grade can it finally ascend to a higher realm. The reason is that the innate basic endowment of the human race is too weak, and all cultivation is acquired through acquired means, so the foundation of cultivation is emphasized. The demon race is different from the human race. More than half of their own cultivation strength is innate racial blood. Among the demon race, there are both high-level demons and low-level demons. For example, the blood of the dragon race is definitely better than that of the snake race. Even within the same race, there are also differences in the superiority and inferiority of individuals. For example, the Jialong race has 5 points. The water snake, Jialong, Chilong, Qilong and Yinglong are Jialong individuals with different cultivation realms, but they actually belong to the same race. As the level of cultivation rises, the bloodline will be constantly purified and upgraded, and the offspring will naturally inherit the bloodline rank. Therefore, although the offspring of Yinglong and the offspring of Shui belong to the same species of Jialong, their bloodline ranks are very different. Qin Zhao and Qin Yi, the two siblings, do not seem to have completely transformed, but have also adopted the Dragon Clan's secret technique of transformation. Their cultivation rank is similar to that of Longlong and Longyu. In other words, they should be the two with the strongest bloodline rank among the descendants of the Kanglong ancestor, so they were arranged by the Kanglong clan to make friends. You know, Longlong and Longyu's bloodline is inherited from the immortal Yinglong in the Locking Demon Tower, and it is impossible to be weak. The cultivation realm is similar, and the bloodline rank is also similar. The signal that the Kanglong clan intentionally released is already very obvious. Scatter, young dragons, form a deep bond with each other. After confirming that the Kanglong clan had no hostility, Longlong was also relieved, and he chatted with Qin Zhao and Qin Yi. The two of them were willing to make friends, and they welcomed everyone who came. Naturally, they soon became familiar with each other. Even the shy little fox slowly walked out from behind Longlong, but she never said a word. As the night deepened, the Kanglong brother and sister said goodbye and left. As soon as they left, the little fox sat down on the bed and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally they left. She snorted unhappily. Longlong, what do you think the Kanglong clan brought us here for? I guess they want us to join them. Longlong replied. Join them? It took Longyu a long time to react that the Kanglong group was attracted by her dragon bloodliner. To be honest, she almost forgot that she had dragon bloodliner. Then, Longyu asked cautiously, should we agree to it? Why not? Longlong looked at her strangely. Do you know how much benefit we can get from having a family sect as a backer? Qiu Changtai and Luo Yan have a master to protect them, so they are doing well in the sect. Ling Yunpo and Wei Donliu have no master to protect them, so most of the time they need to run around and beg for various resources and opportunities. Therefore, Longlong can confidently say here that no one understands the importance of a backer better than me, no one. Backer? The little fox said faintly. Although she has not learned the lesson of self-reliance like Ling Yunpo and Wei Dongliu, she has an instinctive understanding of the word backer. Indeed, I can find Longlong when I'm in doubt, but Longlong also has problems that he cannot solve. If he joins the Kanglong clan, at least he can relax a little bit. Okay then. Longhu showed an indifferent expression. Then we won't go to Beiming Fanyun? No, of course we have to go. Longlong said with a smile. Kanglong doesn't have a secret method to solve the blood conflict in your body. So, it should be kept secret. Longhu suddenly realized. Of course it should be kept secret. Longlong said seriously, Kanglong can't avoid dealing with Jialong, so we just need to develop well in the Kanglong clan, and then look for opportunities to contact Jialong clan. He is very familiar with this gameplay. Qiu Changtai and Luo Yan rose in this way. Develop. Longhu chewed on the word. Okay, I understand. By the way. She remembered another thing. The guy named Qin Zhao asked us if we are brother and sister. How should we say this? What do you think is better to say? Longlong asked her back. In fact, it doesn't matter what you say. After all, he has been a senior brother, a junior brother, and a master. He can play all kinds of characters easily. The key is what kind of relationship the little fox wants the two to have. Otherwise, if his acting is perfect and Dragon Fox reveals the truth, it will be meaningless. Dragon Fox blinked blankly, not knowing what she thought of, and suddenly her face turned red. How about, she said in a mosquito-like voice, just say that we grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Chapter 369 The Hope of the Kanglong Clan. Longlong. In the current Donghuan realm, the 5 states are divided among the 5 major demon clans. The Kalin, representing the Horn clan, occupies the vast plains of Thongzhou and also has the orthodox title of Lord of all Demons. This title was created by Emperor Yinglong in ancient times and inherited by the Kalin clan. The Chuang, representing the Kung clan, occupies the glacial rift of Bizhou. In ancient times, the Kalin and Chuan clans of Bizhou were discriminated against and oppressed by Emperor Yinglong, so they secretly established an unbreakable alliance. After the decline of the Jialong clan, the Cunning clan was able to rise and seize Thongzhou with the help of the Chuan clan. Today, due to the lack of a common enemy, the two clans have long been at odds with each other, and the friendship of the past is only 1/10 of what it once was. However, due to strong political inertia, the Chuan clan is still willing to obey the orders of the Cunning and regard it as the spokesperson for their own interests, at least on the surface. The Kanglong, representing the Scale clan, occupies the swamped valley of Dongzhou. Compared with the old friend Chuan tribe, the relationship between Kalin and Kanglong is relatively more realistic, almost like the relationship between a lord and a vassal. Kanglong supports Kalin as the common master of all the monsters, and Kalin recognizes Kanglong as the lord of the Dragon clan. The two do not infringe on each other's sovereignty, that's all. The White Tiger, representing the Hairy tribe, occupies the mountains and ridges of Shizhou. The relationship between the White Tiger and the Kalin is even worse. After all, most of the Hairy tribe are carnivores, while most of the Horn tribe are herbivores. This hostile relationship that is inherited from animal instincts has led to the general discrimination of the Hairy tribe against the Horn tribe. In addition, Cooling, where the White Tiger tribe lives, is the largest source of moon crystal stones in the entire Donghuang realm, which makes Shizhou richer than the other 4 states, and also gives the Hairy tribe the confidence to listen to orders but not to announcements. The contemporary Kalin tribe leader, Yuan, the king of all the monsters, won the support of Shizhou by marrying the daughter of the White Tiger tribe leader. However, it is rumored that the couple does not have a harmonious relationship. The White Tiger queen calls her husband Big Horned Fat Deer, which is a joke among the Hare clan in Shizhou. The vermilion bird, representing the Feathered clan, occupies the hot rainforest of Namzhou. If the White Tiger is arrogant and difficult to control, then the vermilion bird is unruly. In the past 5 years, it has been at war with the Horn clan for 3 years, and the remaining 2 years have been at war with the Hare clan or the Scale clan. It can be called the Shushan Sword Immortal of the Eastern Empire realm. Because of this, the relationship between Nanzhou and Thongzhou is the worst, and they almost want to get rid of it as soon as possible. So, Long, what do you think our Kanglong clan's attitude should be towards the other 4 clans? The old tutor of the Kanglong clan asked slowly. Long thought for a moment and replied. Keep your distance from Kalin. Maintain friendly relations with Chuan, but do not establish any political relations. For Bayu, do not interact with him on the surface, but secretly form an alliance and provoke the relationship between him and Kalin. For Thunao, denounce the hostility on the surface, but provide assistance in private, so that they continue to stand on the front line to attract the hostility of Kalin. Very good. The old tutor scanned the crowd and asked, do you all understand? The little blue dragons looked at each other, but did not speak. The demons without form are not as smart as humans, and are probably about the same as children of 8 or 9 years old. Even Qin Zhao and Qin Yi, who have high bloodline ranks and have received a good education, are at best relatively precocious children. The only one who can understand in the whole audience is probably the dragon fox with a quarter of human blood. So the old tutor called her out to answer. For that Kanglong clan, the most dangerous diplomatic situation is to be targeted by the Kalin and Chuan clans together. Long Hu said in a crisp voice. Therefore, we need to respect and keep a distance from Kalin. Respect is to avoid becoming an enemy of it, and keep a distance because there is no need to get close to it. Although it is not impossible to win over the Chuan clan, the cost will certainly be too high. Therefore, we only need to make friends with them and maintain a normal relationship. The relationship between Bayu and Kalin is not very good, and the relationship with Thunao is also not harmonious. Shizhou was also adjacent to Thongzhou, Bizhou, and Nanzhou, so it can be said that it is surrounded by enemies. This geographical relationship makes it a natural ally of the Kanglong clan. Of course, this relationship must be kept secret, because the Kalin clan does not want to see Dongzhou and Shizhou form an alliance. Although the Thunao clan has a bad relationship with our clan, it is mainly hostile to Kalin. As long as Thunao still maintains its rule over Nanzhou, Kalin will regard Thunao as a major threat and will have no time to turn its attention to dealing with other major clans. Therefore, for that Kanglong clan, the best world situation is undoubtedly that Thunao and Kalin fight but do not break, and Chuan and Kalin are superficially united but actually alienated. Kanglong only needs to maintain a good relationship with Bayu to avoid hostility with any clan as much as possible. Did you understand? The old tutor nodded approvingly and looked around at everyone again. I understand. The little blue dragon said hurriedly, and even those who didn't understand pretended to understand so as not to be looked down upon by other young dragons. The old tutor announced the end of the get out of class and hurriedly left the classroom. On the stands near the corridor, Qin Bio Wang, the patriarch of the Blue Dragon clan, was looking at the boundless East China Sea in the distance with his hands behind his back. "How did the children perform?" he asked in a faint voice. "They are all pretty good." The old tutor gave a standard evaluation. "What about Qin Zhao and Qin Yi?" Qin Bio Wang asked again. "The young lady has great potential, and the young master has a very good understanding." The old tutor replied. "Very potential, but not so good now. Very good understanding means that if you study hard, you can still teach." Qin Bio Wang sighed, and didn't expect too much from the political IQ of his children, but continued to ask, "What about Long Hu?" "Very talented," the old tutor said in a low voice. "After all, he has human blood, so it can be understood." Qin Bio Wang nodded, and finally asked, "Where is Long Long?" "A genius." The old tutor was silent for a moment, and then answered. Qin Bio Wang was speechless for a moment. For the monster tribe, which is a law of the jungle, it is natural to speak with strength in the final analysis. But if it is already a powerful tribe, and there is no worry about survival, then it is better to have a brain than to have a few more capable fighters in the tribe. Because of this, the elders of the tribe are more optimistic about Long Long and Long Yu. What's more, the bloodline of these two people is from the Jialong side, so at most they can become elders of the dragon tribe, but it will not endanger the status of the patriarch of his lineage. Thinking of this, Qin Bio Wang's expression also softened. Long Long, Yu, you have to shoulder the future of the Kanglong tribe." After class, Long Long chatted with Qin Zhao and Qin Yi for a few words, and then took Long away from Jianmu to go out to hunt pheasants. After leaving Nanzhao, which was ruled by the Feathered clan, the little fox could finally eat chicken openly, so she asked Long Long to roast one for her every day. Long Long. Seeing him turning the grill while staring at the roasted chicken in a daze, Long Yu could hardly hold back her saliva and asked greedily, "Why isn't it ready yet?" "Hurry up. It will be ready soon." Long Long took out a small brush and brushed the roasted chicken with hot oil, but continued to think silently in his heart. With his current ability, his status in the Kanglong clan will only get higher and higher. On the one hand, it will allow him to better rely on the Kanglong clan for development. But on the other hand, it will make him too valued by the clan, and it will be more difficult for him to leave Dongzhou and take the little fox to be Zhao. Well, I have to make a plan for running away. Chapter 370. The Leagues gave back. Although the little fox was very cute, it had been a long time since he had seen junior sister Zhu. Therefore, he temporarily left the Eastern Empire realm and returned to Kunlun as Qiu Chang's Haiyan to investigate Zhu Yingluyan's progress in cultivation. Junior sister Zhu was not in the Jinlan cave today, so Qiu Chang's Haiyan sat on the stone bed to practice Qi, and ran the 9 heavens Pure Land realm mantra for several cycles to complete today's daily practice. Now his Jade Palace has been cultivated for more than 500 years. After breathing and practicing Qi every day, he can hardly see any changes in the Jade Palace. It is just that he persists purely by daily habits. After the breathing is finished, Zhu Yingluyan returned from outside. She was still dressed in white, without makeup, black hair like a waterfall, pure and beautiful, just like a fairy descending to the earth. "Junior sister," Qiu Chang's Haiyan asked with a smile, "did you go out to practice?" "Yes." Zhu Yingluyan took out a pill bottle from his sleeve and put it on the table. "What is this?" Qiu Chang's Haiyan asked in surprise. "I went to the North Sea." Zhu Yingluyan said concisely, "This pill bottle contains the essence of the 10,000 years of ice that I found. It is said that it can improve the cultivation of the Wafu for 40 years. Qiu Chang's Haiyan. He was stunned for a moment before he realized that it was not the North Sea of the Eastern Empire realm, but the North Sea of the cultivation realm. This, junior sister, what's going on? Why did you suddenly give me such a big benefit? I'm obviously harvesting the leagues of the synchronization value of the character setting, how can I give back? Don't be silly." Seeing his dumbfounded look, Zhu Yingluyan turned her head away proudly and said, "Senior brother has helped me practice a lot in the past. This time I am just repaying a favor. Besides, if senior brother's practice is not improving fast, how can I maintain the dignity of this senior brother if I catch up from behind? Although I want to compete with senior brother in the path of cultivation, I don't want senior brother to delay his own practice to help me. Even if it is a competition, it should be in a fair and just environment, right?" The more she tried to explain, the more moved Qiu Chang's Haiyan was. In the end, he couldn't help it and went over to hug his junior sister, saying with emotion, Junior sister, you have finally grown up. You are so thoughtful. Senior brother is really relieved. Let go. Zhu Yingyan was blushing with shame at first, struggling hard for a few times, and then suddenly reacted. You have finally grown up. What kind of nonsense is this? She was so angry that she suddenly raised her long legs and stepped on Qiu Changtime's Taoist shoes, spinning her heels fiercely. Qiu Changtime's expression remained unchanged. He just let go of the angry junior sister Zhu, and then picked up the pill bottle and looked at it carefully. He saw a piece of ice crystal inside, emitting a faint colorful light. Hey, this thing is a pure water-based purple mansion secret medicine. In other words, as long as it is thoroughly refined, it means that I have taken the gold and mercury elixir, gold, golden juice and jade liquid, wood, the essence of 10,000 years of cold ice, water, sea body, fire, and 10,000 years of stone milk, earth, at the same time. The 5 elements are complete, the foundation of Taoism is complete, and the first-grade golden elixir can be certified. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtime couldn't hide his excitement again, so he approached Zhu Yingyan again, wanting to kiss this great hero. As a result, junior sister Zhu hit him on the head with a knife. Brother, calm down. It's not like you show your emotions like this. She suppressed her shyness and said coldly. Let me say something. Kunlun Mirror also suddenly said, don't let her bully you. If you continue like this, your synchronization value will drop. Thinking of the consequences of the destruction of the invincible character, Qiu Changtime shuddered suddenly, and his mind immediately calmed down. Thank you, junior sister, for this time. He said with a gentle smile, and took out 2 pill bottles from his arms. This is the Anxia Human Pill and Inhuman's and water I got last time at the White Bone Palace. Brother, I have studied the refining method. You just need to wrap the Anxia Human Pill with Inhuman's and water and take it, so that the former can suspend the Qi and the solitary Yankee will not burst out. Then, carefully manipulate it with your spiritual consciousness, peel off a corner of the Inhuman's and water, and you can let a little of the solitary Yankee leak out and refine it. He explained the refining method of the Anxia Human Pill in detail, and Zhu Yingyan listened attentively, but there was no joy on his face. Junior sister. Qiu Changtime asked tentatively, what's wrong? Are you unhappy? No. Zhu Yingyan shook her head. She couldn't say that she had just paid off a little favor from her senior brother, but he brought more secret medicine from the Purple Mansion, which made her feel a little frustrated. I can't even sell favors as well as my senior brother. Even so, Zhu Yingyan still took note carefully, then picked up the 2 bottles and went to the stone bed to meditate and refine them. By the way, since they lived in the same cave, the 2 of them also shared a stone bed. However, monks don't need to sleep, they just meditate to enter a state of concentration, so it is although they share a bed, they don't share a pillow, which is a pity. In addition, monks are not bound by the etiquette of the mortal world, and they value yuaning and urinating more. Therefore, if the favorability of becoming a Taoist partner with junior sisters Yu is set at 100, then the favorability of overthrowing junior sisters Yu is about 5,000, and the 2 are not at the same level at all. Of course, Qiu Changtime was a cultivator with high morals and free from vulgarity after all. He was not very keen on pushing down his junior sister. He just smiled and admired the side face of the junior sister who was meditating. It must be said that in terms of static images alone, junior sisters Yu's appearance is definitely the first, and the second is probably Witch Jiang. But if you add factors such as personality and favorability, everyone is good at their own game and it is hard to tell. Wait. What am I competing for? Why did you suddenly start talking nonsense? I have a one-word evaluation. Kunlun Mirror said leisurely, but I won't say it, you know which word it is. Puff. Kingping Sword also laughed out loud. Shut up. Qiu Changtime was angry, you 2 are not allowed to talk. After calming down his mind, Qiu Changtime also got on the stone bed and began to meditate. He took out the pill bottle, poured the essence of the 10,000 years of ice into his mouth, and then quickly refined it with luck. I felt a cold feeling quickly sliding down my throat, falling into my stomach, and instantly sank into the sea of qi. Then the cold air spread rapidly, as if to freeze the entire garden. However, Qiu Changtime's qi refining technique was the 9 Heavens Pure Land Realm mantra. His true essence was already known for its vigor, and with the extremely perfect Jade Palace, his true essence regenerated quickly. He soon blocked all the cold air and then refined it carefully. Soon, the cold air merged into his true essence, making Qiu Changtime's Taoist true essence more tenacious. The inner wall of the Jade Palace seemed to be covered with a layer of white frost, becoming more crystal clear. The gold system is sharp, the wood system is agile, the water system is tenacious, the fire system is fierce, and the earth system is majestic. The 5-element purple palace secret medicine has its own advantages. Now that they have all been refined by Qiu Tian, the Taoist true essence in his body has become more condensed and vigorous. The treasure light is restrained and natural. Chapter 371. Take your junior sister with you. After completely refining the essence of the 10,000 years of ice, Qiu Tian felt refreshed. The cumulative cultivation of the Purple Mansion secret medicine has been 550 years. The 800 years of the threshold of the first-grade golden elixir are still short. Cough cough. Zhu Yingyan is still by his side, concentrating on refining the Yangtze human pill. After all, that thing is more troublesome and cannot be done in one day. Qiu Tian also worked on multiple timelines in parallel before, and it took a lot of effort to complete the refining. So he left the cave and activated the ban to prevent anyone from coming in to disturb his junior sister. Flying to Yuxu Palace, Qiu Tian went to the lecture room of Ziwi's sect leader to listen to the master's lecture. Ziwi's sect leader sat on the 9-color lotus platform, with the 7 treasure whisk on his waist, and closed his eyes and said nothing. Seeing Qiu Tian enter the lecture room, he opened one eye and said slowly, "The defeat of the Longshan runes in the past was not your fault, so don't worry too much." Qiu Tian was very surprised. This master actually knew how to comfort people. "How is junior sister Jian?" he asked seriously. "Nothing," Ziwi's sect master said lightly. "As for the demon sect member who is chasing you," at this point, his voice paused for a moment, "that person is not someone you can deal with now. There are senior elders in the sect who will take action against him. You don't have to worry about him in the future." Qiu Tian: "No, master. You see, I'm not injured either. Can you give me some face and stop chasing the other side with a big fanfare?" Of course, he couldn't really say this, so he could only nod silently, thinking that Wei Dongliu would have to stay out of the limelight. It's funny to say that Qiu Tian was being targeted by the demon sect, and Wei Dongliu is now being targeted by the orthodox sect. What should be done with these two characters in the future? We have to think of a way. While he was secretly thinking and calculating, he listened to Ziwi's sect master's lecture. After listening, he asked many questions. This is the privilege of the chief of the foundation building realm, and Ziwi's sect master answered them one by one. It must be said that it is really great to have a master to support him. Isn't this whatever you ask, whatever you want treatment better than anything else? After the lecture, Ziwi's sect leader suddenly said, "Some time ago, several disciples of Shushan discovered the ancient ruins of Baiyuzheng in Tianmu Mountain. Do you know about this?" Qiu Tian was slightly startled, and countless thoughts quickly turned in his mind. First, did he know? Of course he knew. The ruins of Baiyuzheng in Tianmu Mountain were discovered by Ling Yunpo and Zisu themselves. How could they not know? Second, should Qiu Tian know? Although Qiu Tian is not Ling Yunpo, the old Taoist Zhengxing who Ling Yunpo rescued in Tianmu Mountain that day is the successor of the Taoist tradition left by Kunlun Chonghezhinren, and now he has returned to Kunlun sect. Qiu Tian also asked him to learn Chengxiao Lei. If only Ling Yunpo knew of this time, and Qiu Tian had no channel to know, then as long as he nodded, Ziwi's sect leader would immediately notice that there was a problem. But Qiu Tian knew about the existence of Baiyuzheng from Zhengxing, so it was no problem for him to nod and admit it. The above thoughts were completely thought out by him in a flash. So Qiu Tian nodded and said, "I have heard from senior brothers before." "Very good," Ziwi's sect master said lightly. 12 towers and 5 cities, Baiyuzheng in the sky. The secret realm of Baiyuzheng is the trial place of the ancient human sword immortals. It is now jointly managed by Shushan, Penglai and my Kunlun sect. Some time ago, our 3 pure ones joined forces to defeat the demon sect and forced them to retreat again. Recently, they dare not show up. Therefore, Shushan also proposed to hold a righteous competition in the secret realm of Baiyuzheng, which is not only for the young and handsome men of the 3 sects to build friendship, but also to deter the remaining evil villains. Qiu Tian almost sprayed when he heard this. What, Shushan is going to hold a competition again? And this time the 3 sects are working together. Although they were under the guise of can't find more evil cult thieves, so they have to hold a military exercise to deter them, Qiu Tian could guess that it was more likely that the Shushan barbarians were itching to show off their skills and wanted to find some people to chop them down. I, Ling Yunpo, have been in Shushan for so many years, how could I not know what these war maniacs are thinking? How ridiculous. Seeing Qiu Changtai silent, the head of Ziwili sect said leisurely, although this righteous joint competition is held in the Baiyusheng secret realm, it is not limited to swordplay duels. Shushan has made adjustments to the secret realm, that is, magic weapons, Taoism, talismans, etc. can also be used freely in a duel. The rules of the competition are to draw lots in pairs, and the winner advances. In the end, the top 12 will be selected, and the rankings will be determined through a round-robin elimination. At this point, the head of Ziwili sect suddenly closed his eyes and said nothing. Qiu Changtai was quick-witted and knew that his master was testing him, so he smiled and said, since 12 people have been specially selected, I think these 12 people will be needed to do something after the competition, right? That's right. The head of Ziwili nodded and said, you should know that according to the Altar of Taoist Immortality, it is Baiyusheng, Wang Jingke, Kai Bak Xuan Yuan, and finally Daguan Mingdine. The Baiyusheng secret realm should contain clues to the Wang Jingke secret realm. To get the clues, you need to win the recognition of the 12 cities of Baiyusheng. Foundation building, golden elixir, Yuanying, immortal. Baiyusheng is the lowest level of the 4 secret realms, corresponding to the foundation building realm, so only the most outstanding foundation building cultivators can be recognized by the 12 cities of Baiyusheng. Changtai, this is your blessing and your opportunity. Qiu Changtai chewed on his master's words silently and had to admit that it was true. Although the head of Ziwili valued him the most because of his clear mind, he had countless chief disciples in his sect, and there were countless mid-level and high-level cultivators who were stronger than him. If such a good thing really happened, how could he go against all odds and give it to himself? The most crucial thing here is that after investigation and textual research by the 3 orthodox sects, they found that the secret realm of Baiyusheng contained clues to the secret realm of Wang Jingke, and these clues can only be traced by the cultivators of the foundation building realm. This only to the foundation building realm alone eliminated most of Qiu Changtai's competitors. As for the foundation building realm, who among my peers in Kumling can compare to me, Qiu Changtai? That's why Master said, this is my blessing and my opportunity. Get it? Seeing Qiu Changtai's sudden enlightenment again, Ziwili sect master slowly said, after you go back, take care of your junior sister. This time, try to let her occupy a place in the top 12. Okay, master. Qiu Changtai said immediately, I will definitely take good care of my junior sister. Ziwili sect master hummed and closed his eyes to rest. What about me, master? Qiu Changtai asked tentatively. You? Master Ziwili closed his eyes and said indifferently, besides first place, what other ranking do you want to get? Chapter 372 Never Give Up. Qiu Changtai returned to the Jinliang cave, thinking that the head of Ziwili sect really had high hopes for him. He could really say that he was the first in the orthodox competition. Needless to say, he even killed his second brother Songhe before he won the position of the chief at the foundation building realm. But to win the first place in the orthodox sect, he must compete with the other 2 sects. Needless to say, Lin Yuanzhen, Juanfen Hegai, and Yuanjin were relatively easy to deal with on the Shushan side. It is a bit troublesome to play 2 roles to beat Ling Yunpo, but how to deal with the grass-cutting sword fairy and Zissou? He has personally experienced the horror of Zissou's natural sword art for many years. Penglai is not so easy to say. Luo Yang knows a few who can fight, and their strength is basically at the level of Lin Yuanzhen. The only variable is probably Mishi, who got the Zhejiang Yuan sword and Twig Xingzha from the secret realm of Qiakong Mounting, and practiced the 5 latitudes Jintine secret records. The hardware can be said to be luxurious. Fortunately, she was very weak in software, because she had too little experience in fighting. Luo Yan only needed to use some deceptive tricks to make her run around. In this way, it seems that it is not difficult to be the first in the Orthodox Church, as long as Zissou can be killed. Killing Zissou, but how to defeat senior sister Anne? It was because he, as Ling Yunpo, had been practicing swordsmanship with senior sister for many years and was familiar with her tactical style that he knew how terrifying the swordsmanship of the grass-cutting sword immortal was. Senior brother, what's wrong? Zhu Yingyang got up from the stone bed and asked. How is the Angxia human pill being refined? Qiu Changtai asked gently. I have refined a quarter of it, and there is no problem at present. Zhu Yingyang replied. So fast? Qiu Changtai was very surprised. Even though he had tried it for the first time before, he only refined 1/20th of the Yangxia human pill on the first day. Junior sister's Yu's refining speed was 5 times faster than his own. Oh, she has the blood of the phoenix, and is friendly to Yankee, so it is normal for her to be faster. Fast? Zhu Yingyan was startled at first, then she thought of something. Could it be that my senior brother's refining speed is not as fast as mine? And she couldn't help but smile. Qiu Changtian was a little fascinated by her smile, but soon came back to his senses and said, "It's much faster than I expected. Forget it, junior sister. Let me ask you, besides practicing Taoism, do you have any other dreams or goals?" "Surpass you," Zhu Yingyan answered without hesitation. "What else?" Qiu Changtian didn't care. "For example, becoming the next Kunlun master." "Kunlun master?" Zhu Yingyan said in surprise. "If I remember correctly, there are only 2 ways to become the Kunlun master. One is to be designated by the previous master before he abdicates, and the other is to be recognized by more than 2/3 of the Kunlun elders." "That's right." Qiu Changtian nodded and said, "The former requires you to be a direct disciple of the master, and the latter requires you to have extremely outstanding strength. And these two are not contradictory in most cases, because the master will definitely accept the most promising disciples of each generation. In other words, as long as the master is willing to accept you as a direct disciple, it means that he thinks you have the possibility of becoming the next master. Sister Zhu, do you understand?" Zhu Yingyan pondered. "How to be considered a direct disciple of Ziwei master? It's very simple. Whoever can go to the lecture room of Yaxu Palace to listen to the scriptures is the master's direct disciple. In previous years, only the chief disciple of each generation could go to Ziwei master to listen to the scriptures, and the rest of the disciples could only be taught on behalf of the master by the chief senior brother. However, Zhu Yingyan was the only exception. She was not the chief disciple in this generation, but she was also qualified to listen to the sutras. In other words, Ziwei sect master believed that if Qiu Changtian had not appeared in this generation, Zhu Yingyan would definitely be able to become the chief disciple. She fully possessed the corresponding talents and potential. The fact that both parents passed down the teachings in the same generation allowed Ziwei sect master to break the convention, which shows that he also had deep expectations for Zhu Yingyan. Thinking of this, a kind of unwillingness to be inferior to others emerged again, as if Zhu Yingyan was injected with endless fighting spirit and energy. "I want to compete for the next chief disciple," she said seriously. "Junior sister, I'm optimistic about you." Qiu Changtian laughed. Zhu Yingyan's reaction was completely within his expectations. But Qiu Changtian's reaction was far beyond her expectations. "Brother." Zhu Yingyan clenched his fist calmly and asked with a stiff smile, "You think I can't win the position of the headmaster and I'm not a threat to you, right?" Qiu Changtian's heart was instantly alarmed because his junior sister seemed to want to punch him in the face. He quickly said, "No, I just think my junior sister has the ability." Zhu Yingyan suppressed the urge to beat his Taoist partner and just stared at his face seriously, as if to tell from his expression whether he was lying. Unfortunately, probably because she was scared just now, Kunlun Mirror also removed the illusion of mirror flowers and water moons, so that Zhu Yingyan could not see any clues. Is Qiu Changtian sincere? Of course. To become the next headmaster, at least he must be promoted to the nascent soul realm muting stage, which is the strongest peak of the sect except for the sect guarding immortals, at least in Kunlun and Shushan. As for Penglai, it is hard to say whether the headmaster of Chuandu is the strongest in the sect, but he is definitely among the strongest. The problem is that Qiu Changtian will definitely not wait until he becomes the strongest before taking action. As long as he can become a Yuning elder and obtain the right to pass through most of the forbidden areas of the sect, he will start to formally plan for the booty and stone. The Ziwei sect leader wants him to be the next successor to the sect leader, which is just a beautiful wish, because there is a great probability that he will succeed and run away before being promoted to the Yuting level. Of course, Qiu Changtian is not a heartless and cold-blooded person. Unlike Su Jian, the chief master who has never fulfilled his duties, the Ziwei sect leader has really cared for him since he entered the sect, and the relationship between master and apprentice has not been discounted at all. You know, even the Shiding elder at the Yu King Wanton workshop took such good care of Luo Yan because he wanted him to take care of Xie Luli. However, the appreciation and care of the Ziwei sect leader for him did not have any interest component, it was purely the relationship between master and apprentice. Therefore, Qiu Changtian has secretly made plans and made up his mind over the years. He will train his junior sister Zhu Yingyan to be the next qualified headmaster of Kunlun who meets the expectations of the master. Whether it is the previous Yang Xiu Mindane, or helping his junior sister to seize one of the 12 seats in Baiyushing, on the surface it is mutual support between Taoist partners, but in fact it is compensation for deceiving her and saving her from failing the expectations of the master. Master, I'm sorry, after I run away, let my junior sister fulfill my filial piety for me. Junior sister, I'm sorry, after I run away, you will be the next headmaster of Kunlin. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtian finally understood his thoughts and his Tao heart became more harmonious, although his character was originally a clear Tao heart without any hindrance. But after thinking it through, even if he switched to other characters, he would benefit. Seeing that he was relieved, Zhu Yingyan was even more confused. Suddenly, another thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that my senior brother hopes that I can catch up with him? So that's how it is. Although my senior brother knows that I'm actively pursuing my cultivation, he doesn't know if I have the same interest in the power of the sect. If I don't compete with him in this regard, my senior brother, I think he will be lonely. Thinking of this, Zhu Yingyan suddenly softened her heart. She lowered her long eyelashes and said gently, Senior brother, don't worry, I will never admit defeat to you. Qiu Changtian. Such domineering and tough words, why do you say them in such a gentle tone? Chapter 373 Junior Sister challenges me again, I see. After listening to Qiu Changtian's story, Zhu Yingyan finally understood. To win the position of the headmaster, one must have both reputation and strength to be recognized by the headmaster and the elders. The upcoming battle for the 12 cities of Baiyushing is an excellent opportunity to accumulate reputation within the 3 pure ones. I want to take the 12 seats in Baiyushing. Zhu Yingyan said with a fist. Qiu Changtian was also relieved. This junior sister's Zhu was easier to deal with than expected. Her competitive spirit is too strong. As long as you set a goal for her, she will charge towards that goal fearlessly. It's like saying to a boy, can you touch that leaf? It's too easy. Brother, do you think I'm easy to deal with? Zhu Yingyan said suddenly. This question almost scared Qiu Changtian into a cold sweat. Junior sister, where did you learn mind reading from? From the headmaster's ear. But he was a senior spy after all, so he immediately showed a puzzled expression and tilted his head slightly. What? Humph. Seeing that he was not frightened, Zhu Yingyan turned and walked out of the cave. Accompany me to practice fighting, okay? Junior sister invites you, how dare I refuse? Qiu Changtian said with a smile. When the two came to the extreme west, they saw that there were many more Kunlun monks here. Obviously, the righteous competition of the 12 cities in Baiyushing was not only known by the people at the headmaster. Many of the elders' disciples had received the news in advance and were stepping up their training for battle. The fact that the Kunlun disciples who believed that cultivation is everything and were obsessed with breathing and refining Qi started practicing fighting for the first time shows how important this Baiyushing competition was. Seeing Qiu Changtian and Zhu Yingyan arrive, the disciples immediately stopped their fighting moves, rushed over enthusiastically, and called out affectionately, Senior Brother Qiu. Hello, Senior Brother. Are you here to practice too? Qiu Changtian responded politely one by one. Zhu Yingyan beside him saw it and said with admiration, Senior Brother, if we talk about prestige, I'm afraid no one of your peers in Kunlin can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. The tone of her voice when she said this was indeed convinced. After all, Zhu Yingyan saw every step of Qiu Changtian's rise to fame. At first, Senior Brother, starting from the lowly Qi refining stage, constantly took out disciples out to train and do tasks, and almost did not receive any rewards. He was known as the Chief Qi, who was eager to help others, and this reputation was widely circulated among his peers. Of course, at the time it was only circulated among the outer disciples of this generation. Later, Qiu Changtian's reputation was so great that he was put on the wanted list of the demon sect. He could not go out to do tasks anytime and anywhere, and could only hold debate meetings in the sect to discuss many Taoist theories with his fellow disciples. Countless elite disciples of Kunlun went up and took turns to debate him, and they benefited a lot every time they listened. Everyone was deeply impressed by Qiu Changtian's knowledge. So his reputation gradually broke out of the circle of outer disciples and began to spread to the circle of inner disciples and elite disciples. Later, Zhu Changqing ascended to become the true Man King Yang, and Qiu Changtian got the position of the chief of the foundation building realm. So not only all the disciples of this generation, but also the senior brothers and sisters of the previous generation who had not yet formed the golden elixir, also remembered the name of the chief Qiu. After all, at this time, he had become the chief of all Kunlun Foundation building disciples. Finally, Kunlun went thousands of miles to rescue Penglai. The chief Kyo broke the sword formation of the immortal executioner alone, and was personally praised by the sect's Kisun immortal in front of all the elders at Kunlun. This praise completely pushed Kyo Chang's Hyan to the peak of Kunlun's reputation. Everyone didn't know that the Huxian sword formation was incomplete, nor did they know that Lady Hyan, who presided over the formation, was not proficient in the formation. They only knew that the one that was broken was the famous Huxian sword formation of Jiri Zhao. Even the immortal Kisun praised him. What else can everyone say? Which great chief in the foundation building realm in the past dynasties could do it? So far, Kyo Chang's Hyan has completely broken through the upper limit of the reputation of chief, making the Kunlun cultivators no longer remember Chief Kyo, but Kunlun Kyo Chang's Hyan. From an outer disciple, to a disciple of this generation, to a disciple of the entire foundation building realm, and finally famous throughout Kunlun, only Zhu Yinglyan knows how much effort and hard work his senior brother has put in. He did not use any external force, did not take shortcuts, but just walked to the current height and status step by step. This is the Kyo Chang's Hyan I am familiar with, my Taoist partner, my senior brother. Thinking of this, Zhu Yinglyan was also slightly moved, and pride and a sense of accomplishment filled his heart. Kyo Chang's Hyan didn't know that junior sister Zhu beside him had so many inner thoughts. If he knew, he could only say junior sister is right. After all, brushing the synchronization value of the invincible character, such a thing cannot be said, and no one will believe it if it is said. As people greeted him one after another, the synchronization value was also rising all the way. At the end, Arjun's voice was a little numb, and he said, "It's still rising, just know it," and then stopped reporting the prompt. Hello everyone. Kyo Chang's Hyan was also entangled and could only clasp his fists and say to the people around him, "My junior sister and I are going to participate in the Baiyujing competition, so we want to find a place to practice here. I can only chat with you next time." It's okay, it's okay. Everyone hurriedly said, "Chief Kyo, come here to practice, there is time here." The scene was really kind. Kyo Chang's Hyan had to pick a vacant space at random, and stood in the air with Zhu Yinglyan, standing on the sword. The Kunlun monks immediately dispersed, leaving enough space for the two to fight, and then surrounded the surrounding area. There were even many people who raised their hands and shot out sword lights, sending messages to Kunlun Tai and Zhu, as if they were calling their friends to come and watch the battle. Kyo Chang's Hyan. With the invincible character, he couldn't just say don't watch. Otherwise, even if everyone understood that he was afraid of leaking his own information in advance, it would affect his subsequent synchronization value brushing. How could the dignified Kyo Da chief do such a thing? He should show it to everyone openly. Even if the opponent knew this information, Kyo Da chief would be confident that he could win. Kyo Chang's Hyan sighed in his heart and could only smile and look at junior sister Zhu. Zhu Yinglyan had some thoughts. She knew that before the Baiyujing competition, it was best to hide one trump card. Seeing her senior brother looking over with a smile, she felt that she and her senior brother had a tacit understanding and thought the same thing. In the fight later, it's better to stop at a certain point, and there's no need to use really powerful means. Brother. Zhu Yinglyan bowed, "I will attack first, please teach me." As the chief of Kyo Chang's Hyan, of course he should let his junior sister attack first, so the spectators did not think it was wrong, but they all held their breath and prepared to watch the exciting fight carefully to know how big the gap between themselves and the chief Kyo was. However, Kyo Chang's Hyan was slightly stunned and stood there in shock. In his sight, the serious-looking woman who asked him for advice and the strong junior sister who had been defeated repeatedly at the gate of Jinlian Cave many years ago and still wanted to challenge him in swordsmanship again and again, the two images suddenly crossed time and space and overlapped together, making him feel a trance of vicissitudes of life. Time flies, years pass by, you and I are still the same. That's great, junior sister. Okay. Kyo Chang's Hyan smiled gently. Chapter 374. This time the emotional intelligence is increased. Zhu Yinglyan pinched his hands together and started to spit out the great bright fire, which swept towards Kyo Chang's Hyan. Phoenix Fairy, the great bright fire, is also well known to the Kunlun monks and can be regarded as Zhu Yinglyan's unique fighting style. At this time, the boundless fire started, and the people around him immediately exclaimed. The sea of fire was boundless and grew with the wind. It soon soared into the sky, emitting endless flames and blazing heat waves, almost covering the sky of the sun. Facing this great bright fire, Kyo Chang's Hyan was not in a hurry, but just pinched a few spells. The true words of the Ninth Heaven's Kingway entry, the third level derived Taoist method, the Supreme Chuanji Spirit Talisman. That's the Supreme Chuanji Talisman. A knowledgeable cultivator commented outside the venue, it's known as the strongest suppression method under the Golden Core, and it's perfect for dealing with any large-scale attack. As soon as the voice fell, the cultivator exclaimed again, 3 talismans. What's going on? Is the true essence of the Chief Kyo infinite? Among the audience at the scene, there were also many disciples of the previous generation, and even a few direct disciples, that is, the brothers and sisters that Kyo Chang Time could see in the lecture room. At this time, they all widened their eyes and were shocked. Others may not know, but they are also practicing the Ninth Heaven's Kingway realm mantra. How can they not know that the Supreme Chuanji Talisman, the foundation building cultivator, can only play one at the same time? In the process of playing this talisman to suppress the opponent, the cultivator needs to use his true essence at all times, so the loss of true essence is very amazing. With the cultivation level of the foundation building realm, playing one at the same time is the limit. If you play 3 at the same time like Kyo Chang Tian, the speed of consumption of true essence will be tripled. Ordinary cultivators will probably be drained of their dantan and their sea of Ki will be exhausted in just a few breaths. How did this Chief Ki do it? Whether it is his abundant and vigorous true essence, far exceeding his peers, or the rapid regeneration speed of true essence, it has greatly exceeded everyone's imagination. Even some brothers thought with emotion that the title of the first in the Orthodox sect might have fallen before the Biusheng competition officially started. 3 Tisan Chuanji talismans were played forward in a 120-degree direction, instantly suppressing the boundless sea of fire. Zhu Yingyan also saw his breath stagnation, and his fighting spirit immediately rose. Brother actually wants to compete with me in Taoism. I also master the Tisan Chuanji talisman. Mobilizing its true essence is far more than the consumption of the great light fire. Since brother wants to use his power to suppress others, I will go with the flow and deliberately induce brother to consume his true essence, and then strike back. Her whole body was filled with true energy, and her white clothes were rustling. Fire continued to spurt out from her mouth and nose, and even her eyes were dyed golden. That was a symbol of the initial stimulation of the phoenix's true blood. Kyo Chang Time saw it, his face unchanged, and his fingers moved slightly. Several streams of light shot out from his sleeves, which were the sword energy of Xiao Fu Shangyang, and quickly swept across the sky above the sea of fire, trying to kill Zhu Yingyan. Zhu Yingyan's face remained unchanged, and he also shot out the sword energy of Xiao Fu Shangyang, and hit Kyo Chang Time's sword energy. Their manipulation of sword energy was extremely exquisite. After all, among the Kunlun disciples who were obsessed with breathing and refining energy, these 2 are the most diligent in practicing sword control. At this time, they even made the sword energy bombardment feel like a flying sword fight. The surrounding Kunlun disciples watched intently, thinking that there was such a wonderful swordsmanship in the world, worthy of being Chief Kyo and his Taoist companion and sister. If Zhu Yingyan heard this, she would be furious. However, she had no time to be distracted at this moment, because Kyo Chang Time's attack came too fast, so that both the Great Light Fire and the Xiao Fu Shangyang sword ki showed signs of being unable to hold on. What was even more terrifying was that the 3 Tisan Chuanji spirit talismans not only continued to shine brightly, but also slowly advanced in the sea of fire, as if they were going to press the entire sea of fire back. Not to mention exhausting my brother's true essence. If we continue to fight like this, my true essence will be almost gone. Zhu Yingyan suddenly realized that she had been fooled. My brother knew that the consumption of the Great Light Fire was less than that of the Tisan Chuanji Spirit Talisman, and he also knew that I know this, so would he take this opportunity to induce me to consume his true essence against him? After all, I didn't know how much of my brother's true essence was. If his true essence was enough to support the consumption, my Sea of Ki would be exhausted first. Thinking of this, Zhu Yingyan immediately made a decision. She pinched the dough formula in her sleeves, then swung her arms, and countless firebirds suddenly emerged from her sleeves, rushing towards Kyo Chang Time in the sea of fire. The 10,000 crow pot. The Kunlun monk who was watching suddenly shouted. What 10,000 crow pot? That's the Starfire Crow technique of the Tian and Zhu family. Someone immediately corrected him. Kyo Chang Time's eyes were sharp, and he was amazed when he saw hundreds of figures passing through the sky above the sea of fire. This fire crow technique can be traced back to the ancient Zhurong. There are 2 things left in the world. One is the Starfire Crow technique, which can create fire with true essence. Its source is firewood, and its fire is molten, giving rise to countless fire crows, which spit fire from their mouths and smoke from their wings, attacking and killing enemies. The other is the 10,000 crows of Guangming Palace, which once caused chaos near Kunlun, making the outside of the Great Wall hot and barren, and were later sealed in the 10,000 crow pot. During the war between the Nanjiri sects, this treasure was used by a Jiri sect master to attack the enemy, but another sect master used the mist and dew net to capture the fire crow, and then cut it with the two-dragon sword. Since then, the 10,000 crow pot has ceased to exist in the world. However, whether it is the Star Fire Crow technique or the Bright Palace Fire Crow, their roots come from Zhurong, and their traditions are traced back to the Wu clan, and their offensive style is known for being strong and powerful. However, these firebirds made by Zhu Ying are light and agile, completely different from the Wu clan magic that pursues strength, but closer to the fire crows made by Long Long in the Flying Fire Crow tube obtained in the Jin clan's hometown. To put it bluntly, this magic is obviously closely related to the phoenix true blood in her body, and its nature is closer to the bloodline or supernatural power of the Feather Clan demons. It is just the Star Fire Crow technique created by the Tian and Zhu family under the false name of Zhurong. I'm afraid that junior sister is not aware of this, otherwise how could she use it in public? Thinking of this, Qiu Changtai also immediately realized that the phoenix blood in this junior sister's used body was about to mature. Very good, when it is fully mature, let our Jin scan it, and junior sister, your talent will be mine. Thinking of this, he smiled, stretched out his hand and bent his fingers, and gently flicked at the firebird that was rapidly approaching through the sea of fire. Translucent lightning flashed from his fingertips. The next second, the lightning disappeared suddenly, and then flashed in front of the firebird, exploding with a bang. This lightning was the Chi Thunder with a huge killing range. There was only a loud noise like the collapse of the sky and the cracking of the earth. Whether it was the fire crow or the sea of fire, they were all engulfed and annihilated by the lightning. The Kunlun monks who were watching around were also shaken by the Chi Thunder. Zhu Ying quickly retreated on his sword to avoid the shockwave caused by the explosion of the lightning. His face was a little tangled, hesitating whether to reveal one of his trump cards and continue to compete with his senior brother. Forget it, there are too many people around, and it would be bad to use the trump card here. It should be saved for the more important Baiyujing competition later. She opened her mouth slightly, wanting to say I admit defeat, senior brother is awesome, but when the words came to her lips, she couldn't say them. Unwilling. Angry. Humph. Junior sister. Qiu Changtai put away his hands, gathered his sleeves and smiled, your Taoism has improved a lot. How about we tie this time? Okay. Zhu Ying nodded modestly, and her heart was excited again. The Kunlun fellow disciples around were still a little reluctant, but everyone knew that the two are Taoist couples, and they couldn't really expect Qiu Changtai to beat his wife hard. So there was a moment of silence on the scene, and everyone cheered and praised again. Compared with the first chapter of the first volume, at the time, Qiu and Zhu were so outstanding that they hit each other and bleed. Now they can stop at a certain point and respect each other like guests, which shows that the deep affection between the two is no longer the same as before. Chapter 375 Zhu's mind reading. What are you thinking about, brother? In the Jinlan cave, Zhu Ying placed a cup of tea in front of him and asked. I'm thinking about the Baiyujing competition. Qiu Changtai picked up the teacup and took a sip. The tea was hot but not scalding, and the fragrance penetrated into the throat, like sweet spring water. Junior sister's used tea-making skills are really good, and I don't know what seasoning she added to it. Is senior brother also worried about the competition? Zhu Ying smiled lightly. I thought that the champion of the Baiyujing competition, senior brother, had already won it. Although it sounded like sarcasm, Qiu Changtai looked at junior sister carefully and found that there was no provocation on her face. Well, it seems that my glorious image in junior sister's mind has been thoroughly established. Of course not. Qiu Changtai smiled and said, even if it was me, I would not underestimate the handsome men in the world. Zhu Ying it sounds very humble, but what about the sentence it was me? Shushan and Penglai, I went back to the clan to inquire about the information. Zhu Ying decided not to follow the rhythm of this irritating senior brother, but started to talk about business with a serious expression. Shushan, you have to be careful of someone. Who? Qiu Changtai asked knowingly. Zissou. Zhu Ying frowned and said, the chief of the foundation building realm of Shushan, who has been the top of the immortal sword ranking for at least 40 years, and is extremely good at using sword control to attack quickly. It is said that when she and her fellow disciples of Shushan compete with each other in swordsmanship, the battle often ends within 10 breaths, which shows how sharp her attack is. In addition, she never shows mercy, and is even criticized within Shushan. Not only that, she also likes to seize the rhythm, quickly exert great pressure, force the opponent to reveal a flaw, and then cut off the opponent's flying sword with a sword. Qiu Changtime complained in his heart. As for being criticized, that is another very complicated matter. This Zisu was the trump card of Shushan, and also their biggest competitor of senior brother this time. Zhu Yingyan continued. In addition, there are 4 sword immortals from the 2nd to the 5th place on the immortal sword ranking. Ling Pun, Lin Juanzhen, Yuan Chenyu, Juan Fan Hegai, known as Juanzhen Fan Hegai, Xu Pun. Qiu Changtime. Or just change the name, Pun is indeed more catchy than Yunpo. These 4 people are also proficient in sword control, but they are still inferior to Zisu. Zhu Yingyan said seriously, as long as senior brother does not underestimate the enemy, it should be no problem to deal with these 4 people. On the Shushan side, we need to pay attention to these 5 people. As for Penglai, there are not many who can really fight, the main thing is to be careful of their various tricks. Tianzhen, the son of the head of Penglai Chuandu, is said to be proficient in the way of talismans. Considering the various effects of talismans, this person must be guarded against. Zhu Yingyan said in a deep voice. Indeed, senior brother Tian's talismans are all-encompassing, and even I can hardly list them all. But senior brother Tian is too lazy and has no interest in the competition. I don't think he will fight seriously. Weilin, the direct disciple of Elder Malphar, is proficient in alchemy and human meridians. He can use different elixirs to change his physical state in battle, such as increasing his true essence, etc. At this point, Zhu Yingyan suddenly sneered again. Oh, by the way, I remember that this fellow Daoist Weilin had an emotional entanglement with senior brother. What emotional entanglement? Qiu Changtime also had a strong desire to survive. He immediately said angrily, I just saved her when I passed by. As for how she feels, what does it have to do with me? After all, my chief Qiu was so handsome. Isn't it normal for Qiu Changtime's fan club to appear in Penglai King Temple? Oh. Zhu Yingyan said lightly, I didn't expect senior brother still remember that person. Qiu Changtime was almost vomiting blood. So you were plotting against me here? Zhu Yingyan did not give him a chance to make amends, but just said coldly, since senior brother has such a good memory, he must also remember Xi Luli, the daughter of Elder Shi Ding. This Taoist friend was born in Tiangong Workshop, which specializes in refining instruments. He has the most magic weapons, including the defensive magic weapon Divine Fire Cover, the offensive magic weapon God Strike Whip, and the Tui Star Sand, which is an attack defense integrated magic weapon. It is extremely difficult to deal with. No, the God Strike Whip had been lost in the last siege of Penglai, so she recently replaced it with a Chuan Huang Tower. Like the Heaven Flipping Seal and the God Strike Whip, they are all physical magic weapons that rely on sacrifice to hit people and are purely powerful. Why are they all such simple and crude magic weapons? Because Mishi has little experience in fighting and doesn't like to use her brain. When she encounters danger, she uses magic weapons to hit people. As long as you use a little trick, you can trick her. Who is Xi Luli? Qiu Changtime learned from the last lesson and immediately asked in confusion. Haha. Zhu Yingyan did not expose him, but just said, in Penglai King Temple, you should pay attention to these 3 people. Fortunately, Luo Yan was not there. Qiu Changtime felt relieved secretly. This was also within his expectations. After all, Luo Yan was too hypocritical, well, no, it should be too low-key. His reputation was limited to Tiangong Fang. He was not like Xi Lili who liked to show off everywhere. The overall combat strength of the monks in King Temple is relatively weak, mainly because they lack experience in fighting and the will to survive. The only risk is that the various schools of thought in King Temple are too unconventional, so the monks' response methods are often unpredictable, and we need to be careful about this. I see. Although he had known the situation of Penglai King Temple for a long time and did not need Sisters Yu to remind him, Qiu Changtime still pretended to benefit a lot and thanked her seriously. Perhaps because he felt that he had helped his senior brother, Zhu Yingyan's expression eased and he continued, the Shushan monks have rich experience in fighting, but their attack methods are too simple, mainly relying on sword control. Even if there is a sword seal method to make up for the tactical shortcomings, the sword method is ultimately not as good as what I have learned, and the intensity, range and sensitivity are difficult to adjust. The Penglai monks are better in their varied methods, but they lack experience and strong attack methods, and their fighting will is not very good. As long as you use strong attack methods quickly and don't give the opponent any chance to change their moves, they will be easier to deal with than the Shushan monks. What about cunning? Kyo Chang-Time suddenly asked. Kunlun monks, don't you know more about them than me? Zhu Yinglyan said unhappily. I heard that there is a phoenix fairy in Kunlun, who is not only experienced in fighting, but also has strong attack methods and extremely varied moves. I wonder if junior sister can introduce her information to me. Kyo Chang-Time said jokingly. Zhu Yinglyan blushed a little, turned her head and said, It's okay, but I can't beat you for the time being. Kyo Chang-Time was shocked. Junior sister actually admitted that she couldn't beat me. This is Zhu Yinglyan from a parallel world. Where is my junior sister Zhu, who is both strong-willed and stubborn? For that time being. Zhu Yinglyan emphasized again, and her face turned from shy to angry. Does senior brother really think that I am the kind of arrogant person who will ignore the facts and cover up the truth? Kyo Chang-Time laughed awkwardly, thinking that this junior sister is still the same junior sister, but her mind-reading skills are getting more and more outrageous. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.